Live from the Liberty University studio in Memphis, Tennessee, it's America's favorite gun-toting, Bible-clinging, deplorable American.
That's us. That's right. I love this American ride.
Todd Starnes.
Oh, yeah.
And welcome into the Liberty University studio. I'm Steve Gill filling in for Todd Starnes today. I'm still a gun toter, still conservative, so you're going to get a lot of the same stuff. It's just Todd's on his big, beautiful book tour. That's how I've dubbed it. He's got his new book out, doing the big launch for the newest version of Todd's thoughts, Star Spangled Blessings. It's available in bookstores all over the place. It's one of the highest rated devotional books on Amazon. I think it's number one right now, in fact. But he's out in Kansas doing his big, beautiful book tour. I encourage you, if you've not already picked up a copy, to make the stop at Amazon or your local bookstore to pick up a copy of Star Spangled Blessings, as he's out and about today helping meet with different folks. He was in Wichita earlier. I think he's in Kansas City today, and he'll be back in action on Monday. But in the meantime, you've got me in the big chair at the Liberty University studio. If you want to join us on the phone lines, 901-260-5926, the number. And just, again, a huge week, big stuff going on throughout the course of the week. We're still waiting to see what happens as Iran launches new waves of missiles into Israel responding. That's going to continue over the weekend, and maybe for another 2 weeks, or another 2 hours, or another 2 days. President Trump gave Iran 60 days to come to the table, negotiate a resolution, give up their nuclear ambitions, and they chose not to. So on the 61st day, Israel, with assistance from the United States, with satellite targeting, with the United States assisting in shooting down missiles and drones that were targeted at Israel, and some made it through. Many of them have made it through. Not nearly as many as would have made it through to cause more death and destruction in Israel had the United States not been cooperating. But a far cry from being offensive, although I'm sure what the U.S. is doing is offensive to some, but the U.S. has not taken an offensive posture with respect to Iran actually launching our own missiles, our own bombs, and those sorts of things to stop Iran from getting the nuclear weapons they seek and the delivery systems that they seek to use as well. When you see these ballistic missiles, when you see these huge missiles that are being fired into Israel, just imagine if they were carrying a nuclear weapon with them. They have the delivery system to create even more havoc if they get to the nuclear weapon capacity that they seek and have been seeking for a long time. So the question is whether the United States will use our bunker buster, this bomb that can hit the ground and then penetrate 100, 200 feet deeper into the ground to take out the deep facilities that Iran has under rock mountains, under deep structures. We're the only one that has the bunker buster bomb. We're the only one that has the delivery system, the B-2 bomber, for the bunker buster bomb. So Trump's saying he's going to give him another 2 weeks to decide if he deploys the bunker buster or not. Now, that doesn't mean he's going to wait 2 weeks. He may wait 2 hours. He may wait till this weekend. He's given them a period of time longer than right now for him to decide whether to follow the advice of many in his administration to definitively take out the nuclear development that Iran has. Now, Israel's done a great job. I mean, just from a military standpoint, they have done a great job. They've taken out major leadership militarily in Iran. They've taken out major political leadership in Iran. They've taken out a lot of the scientific leadership developing the nuclear weapons capacity in Iran. They have not completely eradicated their capacity to continue to develop nuclear weapons. And Iran is saying, well, wait, we're not doing that. Right. They've always said we're not doing that. Does anybody in the world believe them? Of course not. They would not be sustaining the damage being done to them by Israel with the assistance of the U.S. if they weren't developing nuclear weapons. They would have said no mas. They would have cried uncle, Uma in Persian. They would have said, okay, we're done. We'll show you everything. We'll open the cupboards. We'll open the closets. We'll let you look under the bed. But instead, they continue to hide and threaten and try to bully the region. And how is that working out for them? none of the countries in the Middle East have come to their aid. Even their so-called allies don't want Iran to get a nuclear weapon. Now, they might issue statements. They might say things about how they decry and are horrified by what Israel is doing. But that's just talk. And in the past, when Israel has taken out nuclear development facilities in Iran, again, they've issued these condemnations of Israel, but nobody's done anything because Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Dubai, Doha, all the other countries in the Middle East, Jordan, Lebanon, even the terrorists in Hamas and Hezbollah, they don't want Iran to get nukes because they know they'll use them. China has backed off of their support for Iran. Russia has basically said, dudes, you're on your own. Again, I'm not sure how you say that in Russian, but something along the lines of, dudes, you're on your own. They're backing off. Nobody wants Iran to get a nuclear weapon. But they're developing this stuff way underground, and it has not been taken out definitively at this point. Now, the other day, a former ambassador from Israel said, look, come Thursday or Friday, we're going to do something that's going to make the pagers blowing off the testicles of terrorists look like, a Sunday picnic. But nothing's happened that we know of. Now, do they have pagers planted in these underground facilities in Iran? Do they have something else along the WOW lines that the pagers blowing up in the pockets of terrorists did, just a few months ago? Who knows? They're saying they got something. And maybe the Mossad, maybe special forces in Israel have penetrated deep cover and deep underground in Iran to make something happen. We're just going to have to wait and see on that. But President Trump is saying, I'm going to make a decision on Iran, what I'm going to do in the next 2 weeks. Again, he can act sooner than that. He's just saying, sometime in the next 2 weeks, I'm going to decide what we're going to do. Now, many speculate he's already decided. It's just a matter of when we pull the literal trigger and what we do to take out the nuclear capacity that Iran has. When you look at the damage, when you look at the missiles and the bombs that Iran's had been firing into Israel, and that Israel's been firing into Iran, every time I see more of these videos, I see the pictures, and in my mind, I hear the audio of cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. And as an American taxpayer, it's like, I know we're going to have to pay to repair that stuff. So let's end this sooner rather than later, because every time Iran hits another neighborhood in Israel, we're all going to be hearing that cha-ching, cha-ching, because it's going to be our money that's going to be rebuilding it. When we see Israeli missiles fire into Tehran, we know it's going to be our money that's going to have to go in and rebuild and reconstitute whatever got blown up. So my advice to President Trump, if you're listening, Mr. President, end this sooner rather than later. Drop the bunker buster or multiples of bunker busters sooner rather than later, because the American taxpayers are going to be stuck with the tab. We know it. Europe's not going to stand up. The rest of the world's not going to stand up. They're going to be digging into our pockets to repair all the damage being done, buildings being blown up, hospitals being destroyed. Now, again, we're not going to have to pay for new weapons for the Iranians. I mean, whatever missiles and planes and things that are being destroyed there, I don't anticipate we're going to have to reconstitute their military. But I'm pretty doggone confident that we are going to be paying to deal with the damage that's being done on the ground. I mean, we're going to get the bill. It may not be in the mail yet. It may not be being emailed to us right now, but we're going to get the bill. Are you really ready as a taxpayer to dig into your pocket and say, okay, let's send more? I mean, it won't be as expensive as a long war, but we are going to look at having to do something. And it's going to come, the bill's going to come due from us. 901-260-5926, 901-260-5926. Are you ready to pay the bill for the damage being done in Iran and in Israel? Because it's coming. Let's go to the phone lines. And Joe, on listening in on WDUN in Georgia. Joe, you're on the Todd Starnes Show. I'm Steve Gill. Welcome in.
Thank you. You're doing a great job substituting for Todd. I think Trump will go ahead and put the bunker, and we'll have a free Iran in another couple of weeks. But what I've called about, I'm down in Sea Island, and they love Todd down here at Sea Island. And I asked people why they love Todd Starnes, and they said, well, because, Joe, he's a taxpayer and small business champion. So, Steve, I just want to say that Todd Starnes is definitely a small business and taxpayer champion. And I'm from LJ, and we love Todd in LJ and all of North Georgia. So I think Todd Starnes is going to go down in history as one of the greatest friends of the American taxpayers and small business owners. And I just wanted to say that. And you're doing a great job, and keep up the good work, my friend.
Thank you. I appreciate hearing from somebody that, in my view, has no accent. I love when Southerners call. Now, I want the rest of the country to call in today, 901-260-5926. But it always warms the cockles of my heart when I hear somebody call in that in my ears has no accent. So, Jay, I appreciate your call. A little bit of breaking news we're going to talk about a little bit more in just a moment. The U.S. Supreme Court, every time the U.S. Supreme Court rules on something, it's a biggie. This one, pretty big. They upheld just a little while ago a statute passed by Congress to facilitate lawsuits against Palestinian authorities that Americans are killed or injured by. The Supreme Court issuing a rule. We're going to talk about that. Later today, we're also going to talk with the Attorney General for the state of Tennessee, Jonathan Skretti. He just won a big case in the U.S. Supreme Court affirming the fact that Tennessee had passed a law to protect kids from these transgender surgeries, these chemicals to castrate them and forever transfigure their bodies. Attorney General Jonathan Skretti joins us in about 15 minutes or so. We're going to talk about that. And Pete Hegseth had a little back and forth with a trans member of Congress. We'll share that with you, talk about that when we come back for more of the Todd Starnes Show. I'm Steve Gill from the Liberty University studio, 901-260-5926, if you want to add your voice to the conversation, and we will be right back.
You're with Todd Starnes.
Hey folks, Todd Starnes here. What's your plan when the smartest investors who never lose pile into gold and silver? They're buying now, watching value climb. Are you okay with missing out, seeing them thrive while you wait? Vault U.S. Gold is the answer. Trusted by pros, they offer gold IRAs to secure your retirement and gold and silver delivered, shipped, and insured to your door. Want to roll over your 401k? Well, their experts make it seamless, honest every step. Why Vault U.S.? Well, they're steady, reliable, no tricks, just value. Gold's hot. Don't regret sitting this out. Call 833-511-GOLD. That's 833-511-4653. Or visit vaultusgold.com/Todd for a free investor kit. That's 833-511-GOLD or 833-511-4653 and get your free investor kit. And say Todd Starnes sent you. Vault U.S. Gold. Buy smart, win big.
When life gets busy, the last thing you need is a complicated supplement routine. With Balance of Nature fruits and veggie supplements, it's simple. Our convenient capsules fit seamlessly into your day. Whether you're at home or on the go, our capsules are ready to go whenever you are. Just take them with water and you're good. No bags, no mess, and no measuring. Our ingredients are a quick and easy way to get a colorful variety of 31 whole fruits and vegetables sourced by nature. Skip the hassle and keep it simple with Balance of Nature supplements. Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements today. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first preferred set. Don't wait. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code TODD.
We're live here outside the Perez family home, just waiting for and there they go, almost on time this morning. Mom is coming out the front door strong with a double-arm kid carry. Looks like Dad has the bags. Daughter is bringing up the rear. Oh, but the diaper bag wasn't closed. Diapers and toys are everywhere. Ooh, but Mom has just nailed the perfect car seat buckle for the toddler. And now the eldest daughter, who looks to be about 9 or 10, has secured herself in the booster seat. Dad zips the bag closed, and they're off. But looks like Mom doesn't realize her coffee cup is still on the roof of the car. And there it goes. Oh, that's a shame. That mug was a fam favorite.
Don't sweat the small stuff. Just nail the big stuff, like making sure your kids are buckled correctly in the right seat for their age and size. Learn more at nhtsa.gov/the right seat.
Visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat.
Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Get hurt in the game? We tough it out. Feel exhausted? We push on. Feeling down? We pull ourselves up by the bootstraps. But there are times when bootstraps aren't enough. When stress gets to us and we need to talk to someone about what we're really going through. So we're going to reach out, because sometimes mental health is not a one-person job. Visit loveyourmindtoday.org. That's loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
My mom has decided to learn to paint, and she's good.
My dad's now into creative cuisine, and I've already put on 6 pounds.
Learning new things comes with age.
My mom? She started forgetting my name and what we're talking about.
Forgetting well-known things doesn't. Memory loss may be a sign of Alzheimer's disease. Early detection gives you and your loved one time to plan for the future. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's at 10signs.org. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
All right, son. Time to put out this campfire.
Dad, we learned about this in school.
Oh, did you now? Okay. What's first?
Smokey Bear said to.
First drown it with a bucket of water, then stir it with a shovel.
Wow, you sound just like him.
Then he said.
If it's still warm, then do it again.
Where can I learn all this?
It's all on SmokeyBear.com with other wildfire prevention tips, because only you can prevent wildfires.
Brought to you by the USDA Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Now more than ever, it's important to support companies and organizations that share our values. Patriot Mobile not only shares our beliefs, but they actually do something about it. America's only conservative Christian wireless carrier. And they donate a portion of every dollar to organizations that fight for causes you care about. Switch to Patriot Mobile now and use the promo code TODD to get free activation and a free gift. Veterans and first responders save even more. Go to patriotmobile.com/Todd or call 972-PATRIOT. That's 972-PATRIOT.
And welcome back in. This is the Todd Starnes Show. I'm Steve Gill, filling in for Todd. He's out and about with his big, beautiful book tour, promoting his latest edition, Star Spangled Blessings. You can find it in bookstores near you. You can also go to Amazon. It's the #1 devotional book, new devotional book on Amazon. So moving right to the top of the chart, you can get your copy there. And Todd's in Kansas today, attending a couple of book signing events, but he'll be back in action on Monday as we roll through this Friday edition. If you'd like to join us on the phone lines, 901-260-5926, the phone number. And I mentioned just before the break that the U.S. Supreme Court has issued a ruling dealing with the ability to sue the Palestinian Authority, to sue the Palestinian terrorists for the damages and the dangers and the destruction and death that they may cause. A 9-0 decision by the Supreme Court basically saying that these foreign entities don't have due process to prevent being sued here in the United States for the damage, the death, the destruction that they cause through their terrorist activities, or endorsing and embracing terrorist activities, funding terrorist activities. So not really a surprising decision. Again, another 9-0 decision on the Supreme Court. We've seen a flurry of those. Not all of them are going to be 9-0. We saw an issue affirming the state of Tennessee's law dealing with transgender surgeries on children. That was a 6-3 decision. The usual suspects, the 3 liberal justices, not going along with the idea of protecting children. Surprise, surprise. But in this particular case, a 9-0 decision. We've seen a bunch recently coming down where the Supreme Court has had a pretty clear ability to overturn the lower courts or affirm lower courts that were facing an appeal. So another big deal from the Supreme Court saying, yeah, if you're a terrorist organization, due process doesn't apply to protect you from being sued. Speaking of that trans Supreme Court decision that came down early this week. And again, we're going to be talking with Tennessee Attorney General Jonathan Skretti in the next segment about his role. He argued the case, won that case. About 25 states have legislation that's following along the lines of the Tennessee legislation. So the Supreme Court decision will give them the green light to red light these hospitals, these doctors that are performing these surgeries and using chemicals to forever, permanently change these children. The Supreme Court saying that state laws that prevent that ban that, are constitutional. And as long as these other states follow the Tennessee law, they're going to be on solid ground. We're going to talk with Jonathan Skretti, the Tennessee Attorney General, in just a few minutes. Pete Hegseth, along that lines of trans, the Department of Defense is basically told trans soldiers, airmen, Navy, Marines, your services are no longer welcome. It's a mental health issue. So Department of Defense policies being defended by Pete Hegseth in front of Congress, he got into a back and forth with this transgender man who's pretending to be a woman member of Congress from, I can't remember if it's Vermont or from New Hampshire, it's one or the other. They got into a back and forth, and here's how that went.
Instead, you are the one injecting culture wars into the military, and it's at the detriment of our military readiness and national security. Now, General Kane, I'd like to turn to you.
So to be clear, these are men who think they're women.
These are women. I'm happy to educate you on
but these are men,
on trans
and so
issues at another
what we've
time.
identified is that there's mental health issues with that belief system.
I'd like to turn to General
are
Kane
detrimental
now.
to readiness, and that's the determination that we've made and that we stand behind. Gender dysphoria.
And so,
I mean, gender dysphoria was a thing. It was embraced by the scientists, by the doctors, until about 2 years ago when the woke let's promote transgenderism crowd that represent, 0.05% of the population, if that, their political agenda, their propaganda, their push by the woke media, woke agenda, woke politicians led to the point where the doctors retreated, science retreated, mental health experts retreated, and where gender dysphoria was pretty much embraced by everybody a couple of years ago. Now we've flipped where you've got, again, members of Congress who are men pretending to be women are attacking the Secretary of Defense, saying it is not a mental illness. Look, you're just confirming it, lady. Anyway, that was the Secretary of Defense having to go back and forth with this transgender member of Congress. But at least the Supreme Court is going to protect children from being subjected to this vile, despicable, destructive surgery at the behest of their mentally sick parents. When you're having 5-year-olds who are making the decision of, I've decided that I'm trans, it's more often parents that are pushing that agenda on their children. I mean, you have some of these Hollywood celebrities that have, 4 kids and 3 of them are trans and 1 of them's gay. The statistical probability of that is less than 0, if you can actually have less than 0. But we're going to talk more about that with Tennessee Attorney General Jonathan Skretti in just a few minutes. One other story as we roll into Friday and people may be dating, the Washington Times had an interesting headline this week. More Americans want to date Canadians. Escape Trump. Really, there's like this dating app that puts people together. And they're saying, Americans want to flock to Canada to date Canadians. The numbers don't reveal that. We're going to talk about that later today. 5,000 new users to this Canadian match. Really, is that a trend or is that a blip?
It'd be great if life came with a remote control. You could hit pause when you needed to, or hit rewind, like that time you knocked down that wasp's nest.
Uh-oh.
Or that time you forgot to roll up your windows in the car wash.
Fantastic.
Yeah, a remote control would have come in handy then. Well, life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome, but prediabetes does. With early diagnosis and a few healthy changes like managing your weight, getting active, stopping smoking, and eating healthier, you can stop prediabetes before it leads to type 2 diabetes. It's easy to learn your risk. Take the 1-minute test today at doihaveprediabetes.org. Life doesn't come with a remote control.
Yikes!
So you're on your own with the wasps. You have the power to take control of prediabetes. Visit doihaveprediabetes.org today. That's doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its Prediabetes Awareness Partners.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's starting with the woots. And now a speech.
I just want to say that friendship is about heart and brain. Who's with me?
Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
And my brain is saying, when it's time to go home, somebody call me a ride.
Love that guy.
Me too.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Are you prepared for an emergency or disaster? Because it's not a matter of if, but when. Don't find yourself saying,
when the storm rolls in, my time to find a pet-friendly evacuation center will have run out.
The scorching heat wave will leave me powerless to cool my insulin.
I'll face a hurricane without meds. Now that's a tough pill to swallow.
Let's prepare so we all have a better story to tell. Get started at ready.gov/older adults. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Many college grads are anti-capitalist activists. So if you're a business owner, how do you find new employees who won't destroy your business? Hi, this is Todd Starnes, and that's where Red Balloon comes in. They're America's #1 pro-freedom job board, and they're shaking up the hiring world by focusing on values and mission-aligned talent. Now, there are two ways Red Balloon can help. You can post your job on their national job board. Over 20,000 people visit every week. Or you can hire Red Balloon Recruiter for a more customized talent search. Now, the Recruiter team is really fantastic. They start by learning your workplace culture and writing a custom job posting, and then they source and screen candidates from their national database. Their team conducts first interviews, and you get alerts when they find highly qualified candidates. And Red Balloon delivers these high-quality results at a fraction of traditional corporate recruiter prices. People are saying Red Balloon is a game changer. So check them out today, redballoon.work. Use the promo code STARNS and save $100 on Recruiter.
As veterans, we're no strangers to helping others.
It's what we were taught, trained, and told to do.
It could be for anything. Helping a friend move.
Listening to a fellow veteran for hours, at any hour of the day.
Or just simply making time for people. A neighbor, a loved one, or even a stranger.
We're often the first to help others. There's no question about it.
But we do have one question for the veterans listening.
When was the last time you reached out for help?
Perhaps it's time to do for yourself what you would do for others.
If you or someone you know needs resources, whether it's for stress, finances, employment, or mental health, don't wait. Reach out.
Find more information at va.gov/reach. That's va.gov/reach.
Brought to you by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs and the Ad Council.
I'm Smokey Bear, and I made an assistant to help you prevent wildfires.
Dude, I've got this. I've been camping since I was 5 years old.
But I am a camping influencer.
You know what? I'll bet you $5. Assistant Smokey, what is the best way to put out a campfire?
To put out a campfire, drown with water, stir, drown again. Then make sure the fire is out cold by feeling with the back of your hand.
Wait, really?
I'll take the $5.
Learn more at SmokeyBear.com.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
And here's Heather with the weather.
Well, it's beautiful out there, sunny and 75, almost a little chilly in the shade. Now, let's get a read on the inside of your car. It is hot. You've only been parked a short time, and it's already 99 degrees in there. Let's not leave children in the back seat while running errands. It only takes a few minutes for their body temperatures to rise, and that could be fatal.
Cars get hot, fast, and can be deadly. Never leave a child in a car. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
And welcome back in. This is the Todd Starnes Show. I'm Steve Gill filling in for Todd as he's out and about on his big, beautiful book tour with his newest book, Star Spangled Blessings. 901-260-5926 if you want to join us on the phone lines from the Liberty University studio. Tennessee Attorney General Jonathan Skretti made the fight, took the argument to the Supreme Court, got a big victory, and he's on our Newsmakers line right now. Jonathan, good to have you with us, my friend.
Great to be back, Steve. It's a good day.
You know, the Supreme Court, and again, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the details. A huge decision. It was like a 160-page ruling. Great win, 6-3. Were you surprised that even with the case you presented, with children being subjected to these chemical issues, to surgeries, permanent transfiguration, that you still had 3 justices of the Supreme Court say, yeah, it's okay to slice and dice these kids?
You know, I think it's interesting. If you look at Justice Kagan's opinion, I'm not even sure it was a 6-3 decision. I think it was a 6-2-1 decision, because she seems reluctant to jump in and say this is constitutionally protected. She's got some arguments about, you know, the appropriate standard to apply when reviewing these. You read that and you think she is not totally on board with Justice Sotomayor's take on this. You know, and the evidence is just really damning. I mean, we had a medical community go a little bit off the rails. You look at the research, it is riddled with fraud, outright fraud by ideologues who were pushing a political agenda and managed to work that into the scientific research. And that is what drove so many of these practices in the United States. And the way we know that this is not just a culture war issue is you look at Western Europe, where you've got these countries that have very different politics than us, that originally embraced and loved these treatments, but they looked at the evidence and they said, this is hurting kids. We're going to restrict this. We're going to prohibit this because this does not work to do what we think it does. And it ends up causing a lot of damage, a lot of risk to kids, permanent damage. So, you know, we feel good about the win. I think this shines some light on the impact of gender ideology generally. You know, the thing we all need to remember is these are kids in a hard spot. These are families in a hard spot. And even if, you know, the argument against Tennessee's law failed, we still got to be compassionate. I mean, these are people having a rough time. And, you know, the quick and easy answer of these irreversible treatments is not the solution, but we got to be compassionate.
We were told during the COVID years, you know, you got to follow the science, which we now learned they weren't following the science. And as you point out, even some of the justices that were on the short end of this stick are saying, well, the science really doesn't necessarily meet. Now, Sonia Sotomayor was in the extreme of following the culture path and really being willing to ignore the science when you look at her position.
Yeah, you know, it comes down to the conflict of visions about America. And in one vision, that's the division that prevailed, or the vision that prevailed, the American people make decisions. The ultimate accountability for the law goes to the people. The flip side is you listen to your experts, you listen to your judges, you listen to your scientists, and they have the final say over what the Constitution says, and therefore the final say over what the law is. But we've seen over and over that they, to the extent that people are given this power because of their elite status, if there's not accountability, they abuse it. They inevitably start working toward their own ends at the expense of the American people. And so, you know, we are a self-governing people. And the big takeaway from this decision is that the people are allowed to make the law. They're allowed to decide what should be permitted and what shouldn't be permitted within the guardrails of the Constitution.
Tennessee Attorney General Jonathan Skretti with us today. Jonathan, you said it was a 6-2-1 decision. I'd almost argue it was almost a 5-2-1.5 because you had Amy Coney Barrett going with the majority, but also raising a bunch of issues that she sees on the horizon that could allow some states to maybe nibble around the edges and try to undercut this decision. Is that the correct take?
I mean, I think with Justice Barrett and Justice Thomas signed on to her opinion, and Justice Alito came out spitting some fire too. You got 3 justices who I think thought that this should be the one big case to resolve all the gender identity stuff. Chief Justice wrote a very careful, measured opinion. I think Justice Barrett would have had something a little more robust that would have put to rest all the sports cases and bathroom cases and ID cases that are still percolating up. You know, I think the lower courts are going to read a lot into this decision that will inform how they behave in those cases. But the Supreme Court's going to have to do another case at some point to round out some of these issues.
Yeah, with my lawyer hat on, you always have to pay attention to Supreme Court rulings because it does dictate on down to district courts, to courts of appeals. What did you see in this opinion that really gives you hope moving forward, that as you look at those other cases that are percolating, again, bathroom, other sports and things, are there red flags, or are there, hey, that's a great portion of a win that we can build on?
Yeah, I mean, just the reminder to judges that the people are the ultimate decision makers. I mean, the Constitution only matters because the people ratified it. And the Constitution does put some guardrails on what state legislatures and Congress can do. But where those guardrails aren't bright lines, there's a lot of latitude for the people's elected representatives to act. And so I hope this reinforces an idea of judicial humility and, a deference to the democratic process, except where there is a clear constitutional basis for a court acting.
Now, as you've pointed out, you had a lot of help. Not only did you have legislators in Tennessee, but Steve Marshall, the Attorney General in Alabama, was right there by your side. Other attorney generals across the country. You now have about 24, 25 states that are either passing laws like this or looking at laws like Tennessee did. If they follow the Tennessee law very closely, they now have kind of a stamp of approval from the Supreme Court. It's only if they stray from the Tennessee law that they may put their own legislative practices at work or at risk in other states.
Yeah, I mean, if they're fairly close to Tennessee's law, they should be in absolutely fine shape with respect to 14th Amendment challenges. If they copy it exactly, then it's bulletproof. But, it is a team effort. Steve Marshall did so much to unearth the W-Pass misconduct. He was literally sitting next to me at the Supreme Court for this until I had to go up to the table. And there were a lot of great Republican AGs involved in this effort. Although it's bipartisan. Tennessee's law was a bipartisan law. And I think you're seeing a big shift. I think we sort of hit the high watermark for gender ideology, and, the academic and scientific and judicial kind of blob that was pushing really hard to insert this stuff into every facet of American society overreached. And now we're seeing the backlash. And, I think I'm not an expert on elections, but it seems to me that gender ideology and immigration were the two things that got President Trump elected. And that's an indicator of where America is on these issues. Like in a divided society, these are the issues that move the needle. So I'm hoping that, as this case ramifies down, and as the administration keeps undoing some of the regulatory overreaches, and of course the courts have undone some of the overreaches of the Biden administration. We had some great litigation about that. We're going to see a less autocratic approach, and we'll get the people making the laws again.
Tennessee Attorney General Jonathan Skretti on our Newsmakers line with us. You mentioned immigration as another issue that is being fought in the courts, and you, along with other attorney generals around the country, are working to make sure that the president can continue to use the Alien Enemies Act to deport these gang members like Tren del Agua, MS-13. Tell me a little bit about how you and the attorney generals are focused on using the Alien Enemies Act to empower the president to do what President Trump is trying to do.
Yeah, so the Alien Enemies Act is an ancient law, right? It goes way, way back, I think, to the Adams administration, the first Adams administration, pre-1800s law. And it says if you are working for a foreign power, essentially we can kick you out if you're adverse to America's interests. The president has the authority to just boot you. It's the most streamlined immigration removal law we have. Now, the president has said that there's evidence that Tren de Aragua is working with the Venezuelan government, that they're coordinating, that Tren de Aragua is acting functionally as an agency. Where foreign affairs is concerned, the president gets a lot of deference under the Constitution. So if the president makes a finding, the courts should not second guess that. It's one of the core executive powers to deal with foreign policy. And we're hurting the country, and we're hurting the institution of the presidency by limiting that. So not everybody is removable under the Alien Enemies Act, but where Tren de Aragua is tied in with Venezuela, the Venezuelan government, and is acting so clearly adversely to America's interests, engaging in horrific activity, terrible, terrible human trafficking, for instance, and of course, horrible crimes of violence, then there's a very streamlined process for the president to remove folks. Due process does not mean you get to keep going back to court for years and years and years until you get what you want. Sometimes due process is just the opportunity to tell somebody this law doesn't apply to me, and they say, actually, we've looked at the facts and it does. There's not a right.
That's where
for
we hear
people to
sometimes
just show up in our country.
We hear sometimes this screeching about due process, when you have some of these folks that have been through the process, have had their day in court, have been issued a deportation order, and then ignored it. They've already had their day in court, and if you're just rounding them up and deporting them, they've already had their day in court. They've already had their due process. Real quickly, you mentioned Venezuela and the Tren de Aragua. In Mexico, there's a large argument that the cartels actually run the Mexican government in some instances. Are you going to be able to apply the Aliens Act to the cartels and to Mexican gangs?
I don't know. I mean, I think the president and the folks in his administration are the ones with the granular information there. But if it turns out that there is close coordination there, maybe. Of course, the issue is Venezuela is a lot more adverse to us openly than Mexico is. I mean, with Mexico, we have a lot of disagreements, but I don't think they're at this time showing up on sort of the naughty list of bad countries. And that may be a predicate for the Alien Enemies Act to apply. But I think that it's important that the federal government keep looking at ways to enforce our immigration laws. Because when you have the one-way ratchet saying, well, we're going to let all these people in and we're not going to make the administrations that want to let them in enforce the law. And then when another administration gets elected with a mandate to enforce the law, say, well, we're just going to make it, increasingly difficult to do anything. You're going to have to jump through more and more legal hoops. That undermines the legitimacy of the judiciary and of our constitutional system as a whole. And the people won't stand for it. And it puts us in a very precarious spot. There can't be a one-way ratchet. The laws need to apply.
Yeah, you can come in. It's kind of like the Hotel California, Jonathan. We'll let you in, but you can't check out. We need to check some people out. Jonathan Skretti, Tennessee Attorney General. Always great to visit with you, my friend. Again, great win in the Supreme Court. You've got more coming, a lot of other cases, and we always appreciate talking to you. Keep up the great work.
He's a man of his word. Todd Starnes.
As you know, my friend Mike Lindell has a passion to help everyone get the best sleep of your life. Now, he didn't stop by simply creating the best pillow. Mike created the best bed sheets ever. They look and feel great, which means an even better night's sleep for me, which is crucial for my busy schedule. Now, Mike is offering the best deal on his Giza Dream bed sheets. Any size, any color, just $49.98. That's right. You can even get the Queens, Kings, Split Kings, and Cal Kings. Any size, any color, just $49.98. Order now because when they're gone, they're gone. Also, for a limited time, when you order over $100 in merch, you're going to get $100 in free digital gifts. Call 1-800-839-8506. Use the promo code STARNS or go to mypillow.com. Use the promo code STARNS for the amazing offer of $49.98 on the Giza Dream Sheets, any size, any color. That number again, 1-800-839-8506, promo code STARNS.
Attention, Patriots. Old Glory Bank, the bank for Main Street, not Wall Street, is now offering you a chance to own a piece of America's freedom economy. President and CEO Mike Ring recently testified before the Senate Banking Committee to fight for your banking freedom. Now you can join the fight by investing in Old Glory Bank. Visit own.oldglorybank.com to become an owner today. Investments involve risk, are not FDIC insured, and are not guaranteed. See our offering circular.
When you're working to protect and serve your community and country, you need a degree program that fits into your busy schedule. At Liberty University, you'll find just that. With 100% online program options and no set login times, you can advance your skills without sacrificing your commitments. Plus, we offer exclusive tuition rates and discounts to current and former service members, their spouses, and first responders. Learn more by texting DEGREE to 49595. That's DEGREE to 49595.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
I'm a 70-year-old man. I'm not a young guy, and I'm an ex-athlete. Well, yeah, when I was taking it, I recognized that I was feeling better. You know what I'm saying? And just mentally knowing is important also.
I am a customer of you guys. I love your product. Love it, love it. Nothing but good things to say about your product. I love it. And as long as y'all are going to sell it, I'm going to take it as long as I can.
Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer. And for a limited time, get 35% off your first order with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code TODD.
Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. Even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma.
At age 30, Carissa finished her high school diploma.
If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, you can do it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Retirement can be scary, but only if you're not prepared. That's why AARP created thisispretirement.org. Because unless you've already retired, you're in pretirement, and you still have time to plan. Learn about retirement savings options, potential tax breaks, and how you can build savings over time. Visit thisispretirement.org for free resources to help you customize your action plan and feel the retirement fear disappear. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
It's a Friday as we roll towards the weekend. You can actually see the weekend from here. If you'll stand up on your chair, it's literally right over there over the horizon. Don't stand up on one of those chairs that has wheels on it because that could end up disastrously. But, yeah, you can see the weekend from here. We're going to roll you into the weekend here on the Todd Starnes Show. I'm Steve Gill, filling in for Todd. He's out schlepping his books around, I think, the state of Kansas today, but he'll be back in action on Monday. If you want to join us on the phone lines, 901-260-5926 from the Liberty University studios. And, man, a lot going on. The Iran-Israel conflict continuing to bubble up. We're going to see what goes on there. But a story that caught my eye, literally caught my eye, is what is Elon Musk up to now? You had the big battle of the billionaire bros just a week or so ago where Elon Musk departed. It was always scheduled to depart at the end of May, 1st of June. He was a special government employee, which meant he didn't have to comply with filling out all the reams of paperwork, disclosing every investment he's ever made from operating what I expect was probably an Elon Musk lemonade stand when he was 5 years old. So he didn't have to comply with all that stuff, but he was limited to 130 days or so that he could work as a special government employee, and that was always going to end at the end of May, 1st of June. So he departs. And then there was this war of words because Elon Musk is frustrated, as are most of us conservatives, that the big, beautiful bill is not moving fast enough, that the Doge-identified cuts are not being implemented enough, certainly beyond the executive orders that President Trump has done. They need to be codifying these things, and they've made the first step in the House to implement about $9 billion worth of Doge cuts, but there are others that need to come. The big, beautiful bill does not cut as much as we'd like to see, but it cuts taxes, cuts regulations, puts us on a path to restrict and limit spending to make America more prosperous, make America more wealthy. So it's a good but not perfect, and we can't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. And there will be more cuts, there will be more revenue that will give us the resources to pay down the debt and pay down the deficit. But it's not perfect. So Elon Musk gets frustrated because he's dealing with the perspective of a business guy who comes in and says, Okay, employees, do what I say, and if you don't do it, I'm going to fire you. Trump comes from now a perspective as a business guy who's been in politics, who knows, Elon, I got to get the votes. I got a 3-vote majority in the House. I got a 3-vote majority in the Senate. I got to deal with reality. But they had a bit of a tiff. So Elon moves on. He's now apologized for the disparaging things he had to say about Donald Trump. Keep in mind, there are no permanent friends or permanent enemies in Trump world. So even though they've had a bit of a fight, they will get back together again. Trump was brutal to Marco Rubio, was absolutely brutal to Marco Rubio during the presidential campaign, called him Little Marco. Now he's his Secretary of State. He was brutal to Ted Cruz in that campaign, called Ted Cruz's wife ugly. Ted Cruz is now his most staunch advocate in the Senate. So no permanent enemies, no permanent friends in Trump world. So Elon's moved on, and his newest deal is this Neuralink visual implant that could give humans the ability to see multispectral wavelengths, including infrared, ultraviolet, even radar, essentially granting superhuman vision. Here's what Elon Musk has to say about his newest innovative vision.
We can write directly to the visual cortex, and we've had that working in monkeys. Actually, I think one of our monkeys now has had the visual implant for 3 years, and at first it'll be fairly low resolution, but long term you would have very high resolution and be able to see in multispectral wavelengths.
Pardon me?
You could see an infrared, ultraviolet, radar. It's like a superpower situation. But like at some point, the cybernetic implants would not simply be correcting things that went wrong, but augmenting human capabilities dramatically.
Wow, superpowers created by Elon Musk. We'll talk more about it in the next segment. I'm Steve Gill.
Franklin Graham says Star-Spangled Blessings is a must-read for America's patriot families. The newest book from Todd Starnes, a daily devotional filled with great stories about how God has blessed America. Star-Spangled Blessings, Devotions for Patriots. Each daily devotional comes with a Yankee Doodle, a Patriot prayer, and a Liberty lesson. Not to mention some all-American recipes that will bless your heart and your belly. Star-Spangled Blessings, Devotions for Patriots, available at your favorite bookstore or order online at toddstarnes.com.
Now more than ever, it's important to support companies and organizations that share our values. Patriot Mobile not only shares our beliefs, but they actually do something about it. America's only conservative Christian wireless carrier. And they donate a portion of every dollar to organizations that fight for causes you care about. Switch to Patriot Mobile now and use the promo code TODD to get free activation and a free gift. Veterans and first responders save even more. Go to patriotmobile.com/Todd or call 972-PATRIOT. That's 972-PATRIOT.
Mama, what does the chicken say?
Chicken. Oh, okay.
And wolf?
Oh, a wolf.
Ooh! What about the tiny dog? Cat? Owl? Dolphin? What does the turkey say? Whale?
Whale sound.
Do the giraffe.
Giraffe, really? Okay. Giraffe.
You're not going to get it all right. Just make sure you nail the big stuff, like making sure your kids are buckled correctly in the right seat for their age and size. Get it right.
Visit NHTSA.gov/the right seat.
Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Hello, Americans. I'm Todd Starnes. Stand by for news and commentary next.
Maybe you've heard switching to MediShare to pay for health care can save the typical family $500 a month. And that's huge, but it's also true that people are way more satisfied after making the switch, too. The customer satisfaction rate is double that of the typical health insurance plan. Double. So maybe you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan you're much happier with. Here's the number you need. 833-34-BIBLE. That's 833-34-BIBLE.
A Tennessee school district has outlawed prayer on school property. The principal at Broadview Elementary School in Winchester came under fire after he concluded a meeting with parents, teachers, and students by mentioning God's name. We pray to you, Father in heaven, for your wonderful blessings, and we ask those things in God's name. Amen. That's what the principal prayed. Someone in the meeting secretly taped that prayer, sent a copy to the Freedom from Religion Foundation, an anti-Christian group of atheists based in Wisconsin. Now, the atheists allege the federal law bans any government official from delivering a prayer. They argue the district should be neutral with regard to religion. The school district conducted an investigation and ordered the principal to no longer pray. Now, atheists are celebrating, and they're calling on their minions to hunt down other workers who might be engaged in Christian activity. Apparently, it's open season on people of faith in America. I'm Todd Starnes.
The Todd Starnes Show begins in 4 minutes. The Todd Starnes Show begins in 2 minutes. The Todd Starnes Show begins in 1 minute.
Live from the Liberty University studio in Memphis, Tennessee, it's Common Sense Conservative Commentary from Todd Starnes.
That's us. That's right. I love this American ride.
Hey, welcome in. This is the Todd Starnes Show. I'm Steve Gill, filling in for Todd today. Todd will be back in action Monday. He's out on his big, beautiful book tour, promoting his newest edition of Todd's growing library, Star Spangled Blessings, and it's getting great reviews. It's already #1 in the devotional section on Amazon, and he's out in Kansas appearing at different events there, signing books. If you want to go to Amazon, you can order the book there. You can check your local bookstores, but Todd will be back here in the Liberty University studios on Monday. In the meantime, a lot of stuff going on. Of course, you've got the Israeli-Iranian conflict continuing. President Trump has given another 2 weeks to make his decision. Now, he may make his decision in the next 2 hours. Could be the next 2 days. But he's given Iran a little bit more time to get to the negotiation table and decide to give up their nuclear ambitions. They are going to lose their nuclear ambitions. It's going to be a matter of a bunker buster being dropped into the ground and destroying their development facility. It's going to be more pounding from the Israelis and U.S. military bombs and missiles. They will not be allowed to develop and continue to develop nuclear weapons. The question is, when does this happen? Now, I think the president should act sooner rather than later. Because the continued missiles and bombs going back and forth between Iran and Israel are ultimately going to produce a level of destruction that somebody's going to have to repair. Iran's not going to pay for it. Israel's not going to pay for it. The European Union's not going to pay for it. NATO's not going to pay for it. Do you know who's going to pay for it? You and me, the American taxpayer. We're going to be the one rebuilding buildings in Tehran. We're going to be the ones rebuilding buildings in Haifa and in Tel Aviv and in Jerusalem and anywhere else these Iranian missiles hit. We're going to get the bill. So let's stop the destruction, Mr. President, before the damage increases and our bill goes up, because we know who's going to have to pay for this. Happened after World War II. Who rebuilt Germany? Who rebuilt Europe? We did with our money. Who's going to be called upon after the hundreds of billions of dollars that have been allocated to Ukraine to continue to fund their bureaucracy, fund Zelensky's new cars and mansions and whatever else? We're going to end up with the bill to rebuild Ukraine. So let's go ahead and take out Tehran. Let's go ahead and take out their bunker that has all the hidden development of nuclear weapons. Let's get it done now before more missiles destroy more buildings and we have to rebuild them. Now, again, I know maybe Americans will get some of the benefit of construction contracts to rebuild those buildings, but the taxpayers aren't going to get repaid. Look at what happened when we went in and relieved Kuwait from the invasion by Iraq. We didn't keep the oil. We didn't even keep like 30, 40% for perpetuity. We go in and we do this stuff and then we leave. And others come in and profit from what America has done as the world's policeman, or policewoman, as the case may be. So when all of a sudden, Tehran loses their latest nuclear ambitions, maybe there is regime change. Maybe the people in Iran go back to being able to wear skirts and not have to wear headscarves if you're a woman. Maybe freedom returns to Iran. But they produce a lot of oil. Are we going to keep like 30% for our cost of giving them freedom and an opportunity to actually control their own destiny rather than have these mullahs and theocrats dictate Islamist radicalism to the people of Iran? I don't think so. So we're not going to get the benefit on the back end. At least let's not make it worse on the front end where we have a bigger bill to have to rebuild Israel and Iran. Again, that's my pitch, and I hope the president and his team are listening and will say, yeah, let's not wait another week or so where more damage is done and then we've got to spend even more to rebuild and fix everything. Now, again, maybe they're just moving the aircraft carriers and the ships and the planes into better position, and that's a justification to wait a little bit longer. But the president had already given them 60 days. It's kind of like as a parent when my boys were young, I'm going to count to 5. 1, 2, 3. They're still doing what they were supposed to stop doing. 4, 5. They're not stopping. 6, 7, 8. It's time for President Trump to pull off his belt. Tell Ayatollah Khomeini, bend over, big boy. You're getting a spanking. And we're going to drop a bunker buster so deep in the ground, you're never going to be able to rebuild your nuclear development process. Anyway, that's just my view. You can share yours, 901-260-5926, 901-260-5926. This is the Todd Starnes Show. I'm Steve Gill filling in for Todd. The Supreme Court issued about 6 rulings this morning. We talked earlier with Tennessee Attorney General Jonathan Skretti about the big ruling earlier this week that affirmed Tennessee's constitutional right to tell doctors, hospitals, no, you can't, do this transgender surgery on kids, that Tennessee can ban that, and that ban is constitutional. So there are always big opinions when the Supreme Court comes down. And they issued opinions in about 6 cases today. Not any of the really, really, really big cases, but everything the Supreme Court rules on is a biggie. The court sided against both the FDA and the EPA in a couple of opinions, which is, again, a slap in the face to bureaucrats. The ones getting the most attention today are an opinion that dealt with vaping. The Supreme Court justices sided with the vaping industry, rejecting the FDA's attempt to limit where companies can challenge product marketing denials. It was a 7-2 decision. 2 of the court's most liberal justices dissented. But again, what you're seeing increasingly are either unanimous opinions, 6-3, which are expected, or in this case, a 7-2 decision, where even the liberal justices are siding with the conservatives in several instances. So vaping, the FDA gets spanked. The Supreme Court also revived an effort to axe California's strict vehicle emission standards approved by the EPA. The EPA gets told, not so fast, my friends. Another 7-2 decision, striking down the bureaucrats at the EPA. And then a case that I thought was really interesting, a unanimous decision. The court ruled to allow victims of terrorist attacks to sue. So you have the Palestinian leadership had taken groups to the U.S. courts to stop damages being assessed against them. In a unanimous decision, the justices ruled that the Promoting Security Justice for Victims of Terrorism Act does not violate the Palestinian Authority or the Palestinian Liberation Organization's due process rights by forcing them to consent to the federal court's authority. In a nutshell, that means that lawsuits by U.S. victims of terrorist attacks in Israel can move forward in American courts. A unanimous decision. Now, they had reversed the U.S. Court of Appeals in the Second Circuit, finding that the law denied these terrorist groups legal process and due process, and said that the lower courts had to hold additional proceedings consistent with that opinion. The Supreme Court said, nah, terrorist organizations don't have due process in the U.S. So some good rulings by the Supreme Court. There's still some biggies to come. I mean, there's a lot of big cases that are coming that the court's going to deal with in the next few weeks before this term ends, and everybody's going to be watching what happens with the big cases that continue to loom. Again, you've already had some significant cases that came down the path, but some of the biggest ticket items coming up, there are 10 cases left for the Supreme Court to decide before they take their summer break. And, there's birthright citizenship, TikTok, age verification for porn sites, racial redistricting. Those are some of the biggies that are waiting for the Supreme Court to rule in the remaining few weeks before they come to the end of this current session. So a lot of stuff going on, and we're going to watch closely what they do next week, because they should start issuing more decisions next week. But as of today, several decisions by the U.S. Supreme Court telling various bureaucratic entities within the U.S. government, the FDA, the EPA, stick it, my friends. Now, they didn't use that in Latin or other legal kind of formality language, but the bottom line of those cases were telling the FDA and the bureaucrats, the EPA and the bureaucrats, stick it, my friends. I mentioned earlier today that we can't despise the mainstream legacy media enough in some cases, because they always tilt, contort, and gymnastically twist whatever reality is to fit their agenda, whether it's just in a headline or stories, what they cover, what they don't cover. This one really kind of attracted my attention today. The Washington Times, it's generally not as bad of a woke liberal propagandist as, say, CNN or MSNBC, still always has to put their thumb on the scale when it comes to writing stories. A headline, "More Americans Want to Date Canadians, Escape Trump." So it's a little anti-Trump headline, a little, stick it to the president. Their story notes that a rising number of Trump-skeptical Americans are looking to get out of Dodge by marrying a Canadian. Since the 2024 presidential election, a Toronto-based dating site, Maple Match, connects Americans and Canadians. The story says they've seen a 5,500 increase in users, 5,500 people that are interested in going on this site to match up, meet, and maybe marry a Canadian. Trump got 80 million votes. 5,500 new users interested in dating a Canadian? I don't think this is a trend. And by the way, it is not easy to marry and move to Canada. Their immigration laws are much tougher than ours and actually enforced. So even the folks running this site warn, hey, the paperwork can be extensive, the wait time can be long. It's not easy to think that there's some sort of a red carpet, maple red carpet, waiting for you to marry some Canadian and ditch your Americanism and become a Canadian. They go to a long degree of effort to verify relationship authenticity, to prevent immigration fraud. The kind of stuff we should be doing. Canada apparently actually does it. Anyway, do you really think there's a big trend towards dating Canadians? Step to the phone lines real quickly. Mary is on our phone line. Mary, 901-260-5926. You're on the Todd Starnes Show.
Hi.
Mary, go ahead. Good morning.
Okay. Yes, I would have a question. Why are the U.S. and Israel allowing China to fly in?
Hey, we've got a bad connection. That's a great question, though. I think what we're seeing is some of these military transport planes from China that are flying into Iran. The question I think that she was leading to before we had a disconnect is, why are we letting China fly stuff into Iran? They have a relationship there, and I think we're only willing to pick so many fights at the same time unless we have really definitive information that whatever they're flying in might be, say, a nuke. I think if they're moving in supplies, material, maybe missile parts, shooting down a transport plane from China probably would not be the best way to ratchet things down. And I'm not particularly concerned with what they're bringing in, since there are other avenues for them and that they've been doing for a long time. I think that you're seeing Iran lose, by the number of missiles they've shot, the number that they had, and I don't think that China can really replenish them in the way that might cause us pause or be willing to shoot down a Chinese military aircraft. It's interesting that anybody's flying in the air over Iran right now, since we control the airspace. We could take down any aircraft that are flying, but I think it probably wouldn't be the wisest approach, again, to pick a fight with China when we got plenty of conflicts around the world. But it's a good question. We'll be back with more of the Todd Starnes Show from the Liberty University studio, 901-260-5926. Do you think Americans are rushing to date and marry Canadians because Trump's in the White House? Is that Washington Times story really accurate? Would you date a Canadian? I mean, some nice Canadian people. There's some great entertainers, but would you really date a Canadian to become a Canadian because Trump's in the White House? 901-260-5926. We'll get your calls and we'll talk more in a moment.
Making radio great again. The Todd Starnes Radio Show.
Now more than ever, it's important to support companies and organizations that share our values. Patriot Mobile not only shares our beliefs, but they actually do something about it. America's only conservative Christian wireless carrier. And they donate a portion of every dollar to organizations that fight for causes you care about. Switch to Patriot Mobile now and use the promo code TODD to get free activation and a free gift. Veterans and first responders save even more. Go to patriotmobile.com/Todd or call 972-PATRIOT. That's 972-PATRIOT.
Attention Patriots, Old Glory Bank, the bank for Main Street, not Wall Street, is now offering you a chance to own a piece of America's freedom economy. President and CEO Mike Ring recently testified before the Senate Banking Committee to fight for your banking freedom. Now you can join the fight by investing in Old Glory Bank. Visit own.oldglorybank.com to become an owner today. Investments involve risk, are not FDIC insured, and are not guaranteed. See our offering circular.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
I think it's been wonderful, and I tell everybody about it. I'm trying to get a friend of mine to get it. So I thought to myself, he needs Balance of Nature. I don't know if he's going to do it or not, but I'm going to work really hard to get him to get it because I really can't wait for him to try it.
I love it, man. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love Balance of Nature, you know. As you can see, I've been a customer since a year and a half or so. You know, you don't order something a year and a half and not like it. I mean, I like it. I always have my Balance of Nature.
Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements today. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first preferred set. Don't wait. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code TODD.
Let's see, if something costs less, but people are happier with it, that sounds like something to look into, and that is MediShare. Maybe you've heard switching to MediShare to pay for healthcare can save many families up to $500 a month, and that is huge. But it's also true that people are way more satisfied after making the switch, too. The member satisfaction rate for MediShare is double that of the typical health insurance plan. Double. MediShare works, too. It's been around for 30 years. Members have shared more than $5 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge nationwide PPO network. So, yeah, really, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. So if you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan you're happy with, you can call right now. You'll get a price within 2 minutes. So see what you can save. This is a very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here's the number you need. Call 844-43-BIBLE. That's 844-43-BIBLE. 844-43-BIBLE.
As veterans, we're no strangers to helping others.
That's what we were taught, service before self.
But we do have one question for the veterans listening.
When was the last time you reached out for help?
If you or someone you know needs resources, whether it's for stress, finances, employment, or mental health, don't wait. Reach out.
Find more information at va.gov/reach. That's va.gov/reach.
Brought to you by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs and the Ad Council.
Smokey the Bear. Then you know why Smokey tells you when he sees you passing through. Remember, please be careful, it's the least that you can do. What you desire, don't play with matches, don't play with fire.
After 80 years of learning his wildfire prevention tips, Smokey Bear lives within us all. Learn more at SmokeyBear.com. And remember,
only you can prevent wildfires.
Brought to you by the USDA Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
I learned patience from my adoptive dad. All he had to say was,
"Hey, you got this. Just breathe." Hey, we're pretty good.
Yeah.
Might have to start a band.
I got it.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more. This message is brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
Now more than ever, it's important to support companies and organizations that share our values. Patriot Mobile not only shares our beliefs, but they actually do something about it. America's only conservative Christian wireless carrier. And they donate a portion of every dollar to organizations that fight for causes you care about. Switch to Patriot Mobile now and use the promo code TODD to get free activation and a free gift. Veterans and first responders save even more. Go to patriotmobile.com/Todd or call 972-PATRIOT. That's 972-PATRIOT.
Hey, welcome back in. This is the Todd Starnes Show. I mean, there are several Canadians I date. I mean, I'd date Shania Twain. She wouldn't date me. Stana Katic, she was the one in Castle. Yeah, no, they wouldn't date me, much less marry me. But, yeah, I'd date a Canadian. I'd marry a Canadian, but not to become a Canadian. I'm not willing to go that far. But, you know, again, maybe there's a future there. I just think they're overstating the demand of people to leave the U.S., become Canadian with this dating site in Canada. 5,500 people signed up for the dating site. I don't think that's a big trend in a country of 360 million people, but maybe. I wonder what the dating sites in Mexico or Haiti. Is there a big trend of people to marry Haitians and move to Haiti because they're upset with Donald Trump? One of the things that we talked with earlier today, I talked with my friend Andy Ogles, Congressman Andy Ogles, who has called for the Federal Reserve Chairman, Jerome Powell, to get fired by Donald Trump because, you know, Jerome Powell's still not cutting the interest rates. President Trump tracking him. Andy Ogles today making a little bit of news, calling for Jerome Powell to get fired. Andy, is it time for President Trump to replace Jerome Powell, who is politicizing the Fed to again, depress the economy? Cutting the interest rates would help those that are wanting to buy homes. It would help the real estate industry. It would help us reduce the interest on the debt that we are paying that again, is sucking money out of our budget that we could spend in other places rather than interest on the debt. Should President Trump fire Jerome Powell?
Absolutely. So, you know, for your listeners, the Fed chair is supposed to be an apolitical, a non-political position, and their term typically will span different administrations because they're really focused just on the economic data. You have a board of governors that also they meet periodically and they vote on this. Obviously, the Fed chair has a disproportionate sway in the vote. But that being said, this Fed chair, Jerome Powell, has weaponized, again, just like the Justice Department was weaponized, just like we've seen the IRS weaponized, has now weaponized the Fed and interest rates against this president, against the administration. The data clearly shows there should be an interest rate cut. We know what it will do for the economy. We know what it's going to do for builders, for home buyers, and that whole landscape, that ecosystem that is the housing market. And you've got a lot of people trapped in higher interest rates because of this activist now Fed chair, and so he should be replaced. And we've got to start seeing these cuts. And again, to your point, the data shows that. I mean, and you can even be cautious, but the data shows that you can have an interest rate cut even if you're on the lower side at a quarter point. Again, I would say let's cut it a half a point and then signal to the market that you're going to do 2 quarter point cuts. But, you know, we're currently at 7.5. It should be closer to 5.5 in interest, and that's a big deal. So I've got a letter that we're sending out, asking for them to reduce the PMI insurance, so that's the mortgage insurance on a temporary basis, because that will help those new term, the first-time home buyer or someone who's wanting to move up in a house, but they don't have that 20% down. And that's a small thing that you can do, but $150 to $250 decided, depending on the size of your mortgage, can make a big difference. And so we've got to start thinking outside the box to get this economy going and moving, and part of that is getting the Fed chair out of the way.
President Trump needs to go apprentice on Jerome Powell. Jerome, you're fired. Back with more of the Todd Starnes Show in a moment.
You said you'd never buy your kid candy from the checkout aisle. Or forget extra diapers. And never give in to a meltdown. You'd never lick your thumb to clean their face, never let them have too much screen time, and never bribe them for just one more bite. You say you'd never let them out in public without their hair brushed, never ever become a minivan mom, and you'd never give them your phone for a quiet dinner.
Calling boss work phone.
So when you say you'd never leave your child in a hot car, no, it can happen. Cars get hot fast, and kids can be at risk in temperatures as low as 60 degrees Fahrenheit. Never happens. Before you leave the car, always stop, look, lock. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Most people out here think that taking care of one another is important. And most people would step up for a neighbor going through a tough time. Most people around here help out friends and family when they need it. But the funny thing is, most of us won't look for help when we need it. Talk to someone if you're struggling with mental health, because most people out here really care. Find more information at loveyourmindtoday.org. That's loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
My mom has taken up going to the park to practice yoga.
My dad's going to a club, but not a book club, a salsa club.
Finding new hobbies comes with age.
My mom has started getting lost and not knowing where she's going.
Becoming lost or disoriented doesn't. Confusion with time or place may be a sign of Alzheimer's. An early diagnosis can help improve the quality of life for your loved one. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's at 10signs.org. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
As you know, my friend Mike Lindell has a passion to help everyone get the best sleep of your life. Now, he didn't stop by simply creating the best pillow. Mike created the best bed sheets ever. They look and feel great, which means an even better night's sleep for me, which is crucial for my busy schedule. Now, Mike is offering the best deal on his Giza Dream bed sheets. Any size, any color, just $49.98. That's right. You can even get the Queens, Kings, Split Kings, and Cal Kings. Any size, any color, just $49.98. Order now, because when they're gone, they're gone. Also, for a limited time, when you order over $100 in merch, you're going to get $100 in free digital gifts. Call 1-800-839-8506. Use the promo code STARNS or go to mypillow.com. Use the promo code STARNS for the amazing offer of $49.98 on the Giza Dream sheets, any size, any color. That number again, 1-800-839-8506, promo code STARNS.
You can't escape a traffic jam. Know what else you can't escape? Seasonal allergies. And you might think you can avoid that coffee stain until... Oh, really? You can't escape a lot of things in life, but you can escape prediabetes. Prediabetes captures 1 in 3 adults. There are usually no signs of prediabetes. In fact, most people don't even know they have it. But with early diagnosis, you can change the outcome and prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. Take action by taking the 1-minute risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org. You might not be able to escape having this song stuck in your head, but you can escape prediabetes. Go to doihaveprediabetes.org today. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention.
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. Perfectly imperfect. Beating in rhythm to the world you've created. But every time you drive after drinking, the music gets drowned out. Your life sounds pretty great. Don't let a buzz ruin it. Buzz driving is drunk driving. Don't drive buzzed. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Are you prepared for an emergency or disaster? Because it's not a matter of if, but when. Don't find yourself saying,
I'll trust water bottles and a flashlight to save the day, but I'll be proved wrong.
With a tornado approaching, I'll realize that I lack a wheelchair-accessible shelter.
When the floodwaters rise, I'll be up in the attic with 20 cans of beans. It's a recipe for disaster.
Let's prepare so we all have a better story to tell. Get started at ready.gov/older adults. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
And welcome back to the Todd Starnes Show. I'm Steve Gill, filling in for Todd today. You are welcome to join us on the phone lines, 901-260-5926 from the Liberty University studio. And a regular guest, regular feature on the Todd Starnes Show is Joe Msina, host in Santa Clarita, California. And Joe, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be with you.
It's always a busy news week, but between the looming continuing conflict in Israel and Iran, between Supreme Court issuing opinions, between all the other economic news that are coming out, there will never be a dearth of work for talk show hosts as long as the government and countries give us plenty to talk about.
Oh, my God. I do 3 hours a day, and sometimes I want 5. I don't want to talk that much, but I want 5 to get through all the stories that come up. So you're right. And it's coming at us. I know it's an old cliche, but it's like drinking water from a fire hose, right? And there's a lot of good information out there. It's up to guys like you and I to make sure that we've got the real facts, the real information to get out to people. But, man, because of the Internet, because of the way we disseminate information now, stuff can change while you're in the middle of your monologue, right?
Yeah, you're having to get news stories. I was telling somebody the other day that during the course of a show, you have to continue to be able to talk, process, relate, but also research, because stuff's coming fast and furious that you got to talk about. Because if you don't talk about it now, by tomorrow there's 30 other stories that are going to push things down the list, or others have talked about it. The question I get all the time, Joe, and I know you do as well, what are the Democrats thinking? I mean, they keep doubling down on every 80-20, 90-10 issue on the small side. They keep expressing themselves in ways that make you scratch your head and ask, what are you thinking? I mean, how can you continue to push, men and women's sports, men and women's bathrooms, surge of violence on the streets, and then telling us, well, what you're seeing isn't real. Believe what we're saying. It isn't a violent protest. It's mostly peaceful. What are they thinking? What is their game plan?
Well, your first mistake is the word thinking, but we'll get past that. I'm probably of the same mindset that Todd is to a big degree, and maybe yourself, is that they've gotten to the point where it's just pure evil. The hate has so overcome them for Trump, not just for Republicans, but Trump is like pouring gasoline on an open flame. So they're so hateful. They're so demented with this hate. I mean, think about some of the great things he's done. They can't even mention. And you go back to the State of the Union address. They couldn't clap. They couldn't do anything that would have made Trump look good. And what do we have? Zero people or zero illegals were released into the United States last month. My God, that should be something you get a standing ovation for at least 20 minutes. They can't even acknowledge it. So I do believe now, even more and more as the days go on, that it's definitely good against evil, and they have decided to side with evil. When you talk about removing body parts on perfectly healthy children, they won't look at the science. They totally duck the science on this thing. The same thing with schools. I mean, what's being taught in schools, we're one of the worst. I'm in California. We went from among the top 5 states in the country for education over the last 20 years down to, I think we're at 42. And we harp on, or the Democrats have a supermajority here in the state. Nothing can be passed that they don't want passed, and they don't do a whole bunch of work with, education and finance. My God, you're getting it back there. You know that we're in a world of hurt here, where they telling us $80 billion. I think we're closer to $200 billion in debt to California. So, your question was, what are they thinking? Their whole goal is to take down Trump and make conservatives, Christian conservatives especially, really look ignorant. And they're losing. You're exactly right. They're struggling in quicksand. How's that? And going down faster.
Yeah, they couldn't even applaud a young black kid dying of cancer. I mean, again, they are literally mentally deranged and are so flailing against Trump that they can't even, follow common sense. And it is hurting them at the polls. And yet, voters keep electing them in these dark, deep blue places. Now, again, we've seen Trump making gains among Hispanic voters, black voters, young voters, and yet California keeps reelecting these people. Memphis, Chicago. I mean, we're going to see there's, a tight race maybe for New York governor. There's a shot in New Jersey that a Republican could win in New Jersey in the governor's race. There are some indications that some people may be waking up, but for the most part, they just, the voters keep doubling down on the insanity of the left.
Yeah, I on my show always say I used to have some sympathy for. I have absolutely no sympathy for the voters in Chicago anymore. The voters in New York, the voters in in other parts of the country, San Francisco, Los Angeles. You voted for these people, and now the difference is from 10 years ago, they do this stuff in your face. I mean, right? I mean, they're so out front with all of it, and nobody seems to care. They're so petrified of conservatives, so petrified of Republicans, or the thievery, the stealing is so good that we're having a hard time finding it. I think if we truly went back to paper ballots and watched polls, I don't think you'd see a Democrat elected in a state position all the way through the country, the whole country.
Joe, I had the opportunity over the last couple of years to go as an election observer to Russia and observe their elections. We always hear so much about, their elections are fraudulent and this. Let me just tell you two things. They have paper ballots. They deposit them into these big transparent boxes that are locked and then are counted with video cameras in every voting precinct across the whole country, where anybody can go online, watch the voting anywhere live, and then when they open the boxes and count them, everybody can watch anywhere, anytime while they count the ballots. It's like trail cameras in the voting booths. Why can't we do that here? Because the left knows they would be caught and they would not be able to cheat if there was real transparency. Russia has a better voting system than we do, as much as it chills me to say that. I've seen it. It's reality.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I totally agree with you. And again, you look at some of the states that moved through it, didn't have any problem. All the states with voter ID. Remember, that was going to suppress the vote. Didn't do anything. Matter of fact, you had more people in some of these states that have voter ID that actually came out to vote, because now they feel like their vote's going to count, that they're not going to get wiped out. I think it's really funny now watching some of the courts and some of the charges being brought against people who cheated in the 2020 election, and some of the AGs in some of the states are now looking at 2024. Even though the wins were for Trump, they're still looking to see where the cheating took place so they can shore it up, which shows you the difference, right? I mean,
well, we know it took place in Arizona. Abe Hamada lost the attorney general's race in Arizona. He's now in Congress. I think it was like 200 votes. They still haven't counted 15,000 votes or so in Republican areas 4 years later. Carrie Lake definitely had her race stolen by the then Secretary of State who was running. She was responsible for the election. So, of course, she thought she won because I'm in charge of the election. So we're not going to count these votes. Let me ask you this, because in California, Joe Msina, by the way, regular here on the Todd Starnes Show, I see a death rattle from the Democrats when they're doing these violent protests in Los Angeles. They are doing everything they can to fight to keep illegals in this country. And in California, if the illegal immigrant population is removed by self-deportation or deportation, California looks to lose, and I think just because of the demographics of people leaving, you're going to lose 4 electoral votes, 4 congressional seats.
Oh, yeah.
It could be 6 or 8 that would be lost if the illegals aren't counted in our census. California is fighting so they can keep outvoting Texas, Tennessee, Florida, Idaho by keeping illegals in the state so they get to keep congressional seats and electoral votes you guys don't deserve.
No, agreed. I can't even push back on anything there if you think about it. And on top of it,
I'm right every now and then, Joe. But I'm right every now and then, Joe, but only because a broken clock is right twice a day. So this is one of my times today.
Now, if we ever got voter ID in the state, I honestly believe you'd never see another Democrat elected to the state house in any way, shape, manner, or form.
If we move the illegal voting, the illegals out, stop the voter fraud. We saw, Orange County, where all of a sudden Democrats started winning seats in reliably red areas, and yet we know they cheated.
Yep. Well, look, we've had counties here, and what was it? There were 5.1 million more votes cast than were actually registered voters in California, I think, 2 cycles ago, and nobody went and looked at it. A judge told Dean Logan, who had his own share of problems up in Washington State, I think it was, he comes down here, there's over 1.5 million dead, moved, or non-existent voters in L.A. County. He was told by a judge he had to remove them. 5 years out, he hadn't removed them yet. So they don't care. Nancy Pelosi's verbiage, no one is above the law. Well, except for us. She should have put a comma there. Except for us. Yeah, you guys are nothing above the law for you guys.
What is moving voters, in California in terms of, again, you've got Hispanic voters, those who are legally in this country that are immigrants, they're moving towards Trump. African American voters, young voters moving towards Trump. Are you concerned, as am I, that Trump is a once in a millennia politician, that when there's not Trump at the top of the ticket, when there's not Trump MAGA voters voting for Trump, can Republicans keep the trend alive with a J.D. Vance, with a Ron DeSantis, with Marco Rubio? Trump is unique. How do we continue the Trumpism after Trump?
Yeah, you're again another home run, because there's no way. Look at the J.D. Vances. Look at the team that we have. You have anybody that had part of it's the money. He doesn't need the job. He's an older guy. He's very resolved in what he believes. And I tell people who don't like him, I say, remember something. He's an A-type personality. He's a developer out of New York City where the soft touch doesn't work, and he takes that to everything. So I'm concerned like you are, because look at the Republicans we have in Congress now. Look at the Republicans we have in the Senate. Why are we fighting against Trump? He won. He brought the party back. He brought MAGA back, and now they're fighting him on a lot. They should be standing up behind him. The biggest disappointment for me in D.C. right now is Speaker Johnson. Why isn't he following up every one of the EOs with legislation, with some kind of bill that falls in line with the EO? I don't need one bill that eats up 15 of them. Bang, bang, bang. Let's move these things through and show Trump that we support him. That's what we voted for, right?
And that's how you win. You do what you said you were going to do, that the voters said, I want you to do this. Then you deliver it, and they're not doing it. And I think, Joe, that we want to put votes on the board. I want those Democrats to keep voting to put men in women's locker rooms, men in women's sports, to cut off penises of 5-year-olds so you can make them into a girl. I want them to keep voting that, because come the midterm, we can stick that down their throat with mail, radio, and TV. But I also want some of these Republicans that aren't backing the president, make them vote, Speaker Johnson, because we'll beat them in a primary.
Well, I agree with you. I tell people all the time, don't tell them to stop speaking. Encourage the Democrats to come out more and speak. And encourage them to come out and do more rallies. Seriously, you'll see. Look at Jasmine Crockett. She's making the show circuit. She thinks she sounds like a brain surgeon. And she's showing us exactly where they stand. She hates white folks. She hates conservatives. Period. End of discussion. It doesn't matter.
Well, and I love people that'll point to her or point to AOC and say, they're battling to see who's the dumbest member of Congress. I'm sorry. As long as Hank Johnson from Georgia, who was concerned that Guam might tip over if we put more military there, nobody will pass him as long as he's still in Congress. He's by far the dumbest member ever. And as much as AOC and Jasmine Crockett try to compete, man, you can't move past worried that an island might tip over.
I would pay to go to a forum that had Jasmine Crockett, AOC, that had Hank, that had Maxine Waters and Nancy, 5 of them. Put the 5 of them up there to talk about the principles of America and America's problems, and I would pay, and I would sit through it for 2 or 3 hours just for the entertainment.
The only thing I can say, Joe, to give them some degree of credit, at least there's no indication any of them married their brother. So, again, we got to give them that credit. Apparently they've not done that. They've done everything else. Joe Msina, regular guest here on the Todd Starnes Show. Great to visit with you, my friend, and I'm sure you'll be back soon. And have a great weekend. Have a great time, and we'll talk with you again soon. Thanks. Joe Msina from Santa Clarita, California, on the air there, and appreciate him spending a little time with us today. Hey, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Stephen Smith had some disparaging things to say about Memphis. It is too dangerous, and NBA players don't want to play there because they're too scared of Memphis. Got a lot of attention nationally, but was he right? We'll talk more about that in just a moment as the Todd Starnes Show continues.
This is the Todd Starnes Show.
Franklin Graham says Star-Spangled Blessings is a must-read for America's patriot families. The newest book from Todd Starnes, a daily devotional filled with great stories about how God has blessed America. Star-Spangled Blessings, Devotions for Patriots. Each daily devotional comes with a Yankee Doodle, a Patriot prayer, and a Liberty lesson. Not to mention some all-American recipes that will bless your heart and your belly. Star-Spangled Blessings, Devotions for Patriots, available at your favorite bookstore or order online at toddstarnes.com.
Hey, Patriots, Todd Starnes here with big news. Trump's fighting for our country to get it back on the right track, battling China, who's likely dumping treasuries to sink the dollar, and facing tariffs that are having a sharp bite on the stock market. Now, Trump is playing the long game for America, putting Americans first. But like hard work, there's always going to be some pain. So you've got to play smart, too. Secure your hard-earned savings and retirement with Vault U.S. Gold. Their IRS-approved gold IRAs let you roll over your IRA or 401k with a no-commission pros. Safe, simple, tax-smart, protecting your future. Want it in hand? Well, their direct delivery program ships insured gold and silver to your door, offering privacy, yours to store securely. Real assets that you can hold and touch for tough times. Call 833-511-GOLD. That's 833-511-4653 or visit vaultusgold.com/Todd Starnes for your free investor kit. And tell them Todd sent you, and don't go unprotected.
Everyone's goals for advancing their education look different. At Liberty University, we've helped thousands of students like you earn their dream degree. So no matter what your goal is, we can help you get there. With over 450 degrees from the associate to the doctoral level to choose from, most of which are 100% online, you'll find what you need to succeed. To discover which degree might be the best fit for you, text degree to 49595. That's degree to 49595.
We are living in dangerous and unstable times. Hello, everybody. I'm Todd Starnes. Pandemics, international insecurity, shortages, supply chain disruptions, and an economy on the brink. We know we can't simply trust the government to protect us. Now more than ever, everyone needs to be prepared. And being prepared is more than just stockpiling ammo, food, and supplies. Being prepared should also include stockpiling critical prescription medications. And that's where my friends at the Wellness Company come in. Their medical emergency kit contains the prescriptions, antibiotics, antivirals, and antiparasitics that you need to keep you and your family safe, from anthrax to tick bites to COVID, and even to a bioweapon like the plague. The Wellness Company's medical emergency kit is exactly what you need to have on hand to be prepared. Go to twc.health/Starnes today and order. That's twc.health/Starnes. Use the promo code Starnes, and you're going to save an extra 10%.
Babes, what are you doing?
What? I'm just mowing the lawn.
No, it's blazing hot and dry out here. Don't you remember? Smokey Bear says,
avoid using power equipment when it's windy or dry.
Where'd you learn this?
Oh, it's on
SmokeyBear.com with many other wildfire prevention tips.
Right. Thanks, honey bear.
Because remember, only you can prevent wildfires.
Brought to you by the USDA Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
What I know about courage, I learned from my adoptive mom. She said sometimes you just gotta hold on and know we'll get through this. Mom, we are so high up. Hold my hand.
No, you hold my hand.
Here we go.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more. This message is brought to you by Adopt U.S. Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
And welcome back in. This is the Todd Starnes Show. Steve Gill filling in for Todd as he's out with his big, beautiful book tour. But he'll be back Monday. But if you'd like to chime in, join us, 901-260-5926. I'll ask you the same question I asked Joe Msina in the last segment. What are the Democrats thinking? I mean, they keep doubling down on every issue where they're on the wrong side of the American people. Every single issue. And not just close issues. It's not like 51-49. It's 80-20, 90-10. And yet they keep doubling down, tripling down on the wrong side of every issue. What is their game plan? What are they thinking? Other than they just hate Trump so much, hate Republicans so much. in the case of Jasmine Crockett and some of her ilk, Maxine Waters, they're just so racist. They hate America. They hate white people so much they can't even see reality from where they are. And then we just got some breaking news. The Senate parliamentarian, a Democrat, I'm not sure why the Senate has a parliamentarian who's a Democrat, why Republicans with the majority have not replaced her, but a Democrat named Elizabeth McDonough is the Senate parliamentarian. She has just ruled that President Trump's elimination of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau that's outlined in the big, beautiful bill, she says it will require 60 votes in the Senate, effectively killing it because the Democrats won't vote for anything. It's, you got 53 Republicans if you can corral, the Susan Collinses, the Lisa Murkowskis, the Cassidy in Louisiana, the Tom Tillis in North Carolina. The two things Republicans have to do in the midterms is pick up more seats in the House for Republicans, pick up more seats in the Senate with Republicans. But we got to clean the House of the Republicans in name only in the House and the Senate who are not conservatives. And that starts with Murkowski in Alaska, Collins and Tom Tillis. And I mean, we've got a long list on the Senate and the House side. And the fact that we've got a Democrat parliamentarian is kind of a big issue. So if you have to have 60 votes in the Senate, we're not even going to be close to it. Now, J.D. Vance, as the presiding officer of the Senate, can overrule her. But the last time a vice president did that was in 1975. My money is that J.D. won't be timid about doing it, but we'll talk about that, get your thoughts on that as the Todd Starnes Show continues. I'm Steve Gill, filling in for Todd. We've got another hour to go. Don't go anywhere. Stay right here.
As you know, my friend Mike Lindell has a passion to help everyone get the best sleep of your life. Now, he didn't stop by simply creating the best pillow. Mike created the best bed sheets ever. They look and feel great, which means an even better night's sleep for me, which is crucial for my busy schedule. Now, Mike is offering the best deal on his Giza Dream bed sheets. Any size, any color, just $49.98. That's right. You can even get the Queens, Kings, Split Kings, and Cal Kings. Any size, any color, just $49.98. Order now because when they're gone, they're gone. Also, for a limited time, when you order over $100 in merch, you're going to get $100 in free digital gifts. Call 1-800-839-8506. Use the promo code STARNS or go to mypillow.com. Use the promo code STARNS for the amazing offer of $49.98 on the Giza Dream sheets, any size, any color. That number again, 1-800-839-8506, promo code STARNS.
What I know about courage, I learned from my adoptive mom. She said sometimes you just gotta hold on and know we'll get through this. Mom, we are so high up. Hold my hand.
No, you hold my hand.
Here we go.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more.
I learned patience from my adoptive dad. All he had to say was,
"Hey, you got this. Just breathe." Hey, we're pretty good.
Yeah.
Might have to start a band.
I got it.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more. This message is brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
Hello, Americans. I'm Todd Starnes. Stand by for news and commentary next.
Cashback is not available on gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin.
I can't believe how expensive gas has gotten recently.
Prices at the pump are up, but I never pay full price for gas anymore. I just use the free Upside app that pays you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait a minute. Does that actually add up to anything?
I've made around $200.
Wow, that's serious extra cash.
Download the free Upside app now to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code GPS for a $5 bonus on your first tank. That's code GPS for a $5 bonus.
The University of California, Los Angeles is going through a pronoun crisis. Posters have been plastered on dorm rooms across campus urging students to respect diversity and avoid using terms like freshmen and guys. Students have also been told that all conversations with classmates should start with a clarification of their preferred pronouns. UCLA recently hosted a workshop called Pronouns Matter. In this postmodern era, she and he are no longer vogue. Instead, UCLA is advocating for inclusive language, and they've introduced a whole new set of pronouns: they, fair, fairs, v, ver, vers, and z, zem, zers. The good news is most Americans consider these make-believe pronouns to be a load of grade A hooey, 65% to be exact. The bad news is that roughly 35% of the country really does believe you can self-identify as a horse or an azalea bush. I'm Todd Starnes.
The Todd Starnes Show begins in 4 minutes. The Todd Starnes Show begins in 2 minutes. The Todd Starnes Show begins in 1 minute. Live from the Liberty University studio in Memphis, Tennessee, it's America's conservative blowtorch.
That's us. That's right. I love this American ride.
Todd Starnes.
Oh, yeah.
And welcome into this Friday edition of the Todd Starnes Show. I'm Steve Gill filling in for Todd. He is out cavorting around the country with his big, beautiful book tour, moving his Star Spangled Blessings book along. He's in Kansas today. He'll be back in studio on Monday to carry through you another week, but he's out and about, and I'm filling in for him today. You are welcome to join me on the phone lines, 901-260-5926, 901-260-5926 if you want to share your commentary on the day and the issues of the day. Why is there a Democratic Party parliamentarian in the U.S. Senate with a Senate majority? Somebody explain that one to me, because she's doing these rulings saying, oh, you have to have 60 votes on the big, beautiful bill for this portion. Why are we letting one Democrat parliamentarian overturn the will of the people? Why? Republicans, when they take office, don't clean house. Democrats do it before they've even got the ink dry on their signature, taking over House or Senate control. Anyway, we'll get your thoughts on that and more. A story that caught my attention that just is one of those, I think I'll take a hard pass. Apparently, a Scotland provocative art science project has explored the possibility of crafting whiskey using sugars extracted from diabetic urine. So the urine of a diabetic person can be so sweet that you can purify it and use the sugars from the diabetic urine to make it into a high-end single malt whiskey. The concept was the brainchild of James Gilpin, who is a type 1 diabetic, and he aimed to challenge the conventional ideas about purity, value, biotechnology to launch a commercial product. Now, the process that he came up with involved collecting urine from diabetics, purifying it through carbon filtration, isolating the naturally high sugar content of diabetic urine, and then using the sugars to ferment a whiskey mash, giving you a finished spirit that could be bottled for drinking. Now, I'm not sure what you'd actually call the diabetic urine product. I mean, I've had some people suggest, maybe wee key, and wee whiskey, pisky. Somebody earlier suggested that you might call it sweet Jesus whiskey, but I think that's a bit, sacrilegious, but creative. Would you drink it? Again, I know they'd carbon filter it, they do all the other processing, but knowing that the source of the sugar would be diabetic sweet urine, I'm going to take a hard pass. And I know I couldn't drink enough to date, some of the women that show up at these No Kings rallies and are screaming, screeching, and crying into the camera. I know there's not enough alcohol in the world, urine-based or otherwise. But, would you drink it? Are you willing to, even if you're not a drinker, would you willing to break your non-drinking vow to try urine-based Scotch whiskey? There are some things that just because scientific technology would allow you to do it, you just got to take a hard pass and say, no, just because you can doesn't mean you should produce that product. 901-260-5926 from the Liberty University studios, the Todd Starnes Show. Are you willing to bottle and buy what some are going to dub pisky from Scotland? Earlier this week, Stephen Smith, ESPN host, erupted with a firestorm of controversy when he took a shot at Memphis, Tennessee. Now, Memphis has recently been adjudged by the FBI, by Kash Patel, to be the homicide capital of the U.S., supplanting Chicago and New York and L.A. and St. Louis as the murder capital of the U.S. on a per capita basis. Now, there may be more murders in other places, but on a per capita basis, Memphis came in number one. And Stephen Smith points this out and says, look, a lot of the guys I'm talking to in the NBA don't want to play for the NBA team in Memphis, the Grizzlies, because it's too dangerous. As if, Detroit, Chicago, St. Louis, and others aren't equally or more dangerous. Atlanta, L.A. I mean, gosh, the list goes on. And it got a bunch of people all twisted and angry in Memphis and around the country saying, Stephen Smith should never have said that. But the real question is Stephen Smith right? Are there NBA players who don't want to play in Memphis because, well, they're afraid? They're concerned. And are there people in Memphis that don't go to Memphis Grizzly games downtown because of all the shootings and killings, and don't go to the AAA ball club, the Redbirds in Memphis, because of the shooting and the killing around Beale Street? I mean, Beale Street has great restaurants and hotels and bars, but on a given night, people aren't going down there because they don't want to get shot and killed. Now, the mayor of Memphis, Paul Young, says, it's just a perception issue. Yeah, it's a perception. I saw a dead body while I was coming out from dinner. You see red lights and blue lights, yellow police tape everywhere. That's going to form a pretty big perception. So here's what Stephen Smith said that caused so much controversy.
You going to tell folks why nobody wants to be in Memphis, or you want me to do it?
Oh, no. For a player like me, I just don't think that the league, like, if a guy's like me, I love to be in Memphis. I embrace it, but you got to identify those guys, right? And it's not that simple, especially a younger guy to identify that wants to be in Memphis. I want to hear you say, why you think?
The people in Memphis is a great sports town, great fans, great people. Yeah. But there's an element there where cats like Jimmy Butler and others don't feel it's the safest environment. I'm talking to the local authorities in Memphis. You got to clean some of that stuff up because it's dissuasive to NBA players. They have talked about it. I know. They've told me.
So, again, is Stephen Smith wrong? Are there NBA players telling him off mic, I'm not going there? I'm not willing to, go to a smaller market. Memphis is not one of the biggest markets. You're not going to get as many advertising deals, as much off-court endorsements. But is it the fear factor, a legitimate fear factor of how dangerous Memphis has become? Now, it's number 1 in homicides per capita. Number 2 in car theft. Hey, folks in Memphis, Bluff City, the 901, you got to step it up. How are you letting these other cities step above you when it comes to car theft? You just have to do a better job. Slip down to number 2. So the mayor of Memphis, a guy named Paul Young, who claims that Memphis has soul and swagger and that's what draws people to Memphis. Although he's also acknowledged in the last 24 hours that apparently Memphis is 100,000 car registrations short of where they were last year. 600,000 folks had their cars registered. That's not the population. Some people have more than one car. So 600,000 car registrations in Memphis. This year there are 100,000 less. And some people have said, look, it's the incompetence of the registrar's office, the clerk's office, the ones in charge of the car registrations. Well, now the Memphis mayor say, a lot of people are moving out. That may just be people leaving Memphis. That may be the case. May be that the people that steal cars don't go register them when they are driving around with an expired license plate or steal a license plate from another car. But the mayor has invited Stephen Smith to come to Memphis so he can show how safe and good Memphis is. And Stephen Smith says, I'm going to come. I'm going to come to Memphis. Let's hope he doesn't get shot or killed while he's in town. Is he going to wear a flak jacket? Is he going to stay in the suburbs? Anyway, so you got this controversy over what Stephen Smith said. And they're not really saying it's not true. I mean, you've got Jai Morant, who's one of the stars of the Grizzlies, played at Murray State. He says, I'm going to stay in Memphis. I love Memphis. I'll stay in Memphis, which is great. I bet he lives in the suburbs. I don't know where he lives. I'm not going to dox his house, but I'm thinking most of the Memphis Grizzlies NBA players are not living in the hood in downtown Memphis. I'm thinking they probably live out in the safer suburbs. But they got to commute to practice, to games in downtown Memphis. Is Stephen Smith right? Now, the mayor's saying, oh, yeah, Memphis is safe. It's just a perception. I want to see a breakdown of how much yellow tape that the police in Memphis are having to buy. Is it declined over the last couple of years? Are they buying less yellow tape because there's less murders, less rapes, less robberies, less crime scenes where they got to put up the yellow tape all around? Are they having to limit the yellow tape the police use because they're running out? Are they buying it in bulk? They getting discounts? I want to see the yellow tape budget before I believe that the mayor and the city officials in Memphis are telling the truth when they claim crime is down. And if crime's down so much, why do people not believe it? Why aren't they going to the Beale Street bars and restaurants? Why aren't they going to Grizzlies games? Why aren't they taking life into their own hands if Memphis is so safe as the mayor and the city officials and those that are screaming that it's just a perception problem other than a perception that I don't want to get shot? I mean, every Monday, you just wait. It's going to be 90 degrees, hot and humid in Memphis this weekend. The number of shootings and killings on Monday for the weekend is going to be probably well over a dozen, maybe in the 20s. Now, again, they may not all be fatalities. There may be some survivors because sometimes the shooters aren't as accurate as you would think. Part of it's, when you hold your hand at an angle when you're shooting like you see on some of the movies. But just wait. Come Monday, my guess, if you had an over-under, how many shootings in Memphis, I'm going to go with 17. That's going to just be my bold guess. Today's the longest day of the year, the beginning of summer officially, so you're going to have a longer light time in Memphis this weekend. Are you going to see more shootings, more killings, because there's more time with light to have barbecues and to have events and to have house parties, and then they disrupt into drinking and shooting? I'm going with 17, my over-under. 901-260-5926. And will Stephen Smith be there to see if this weekend is another typical gun range on the streets of Memphis? Again, they don't like what he said. But did what he said reflect the accuracy and the truth of what things are like? Again, you may not like the truth. If you don't like the truth, that's why you shouldn't be listening to me and Todd Starnes and Joe Msina and others that we've talked to today. We're going to tell you the truth. You might not like it. But the truth's still the truth. 901-260-5926, 901-260-5926. We're back with more of the Todd Starnes Show in just a moment.
It's Radio Free America. It's the Todd Starnes Show.
America doesn't need barbed wire or secret police to lose freedom. All it takes is silence. Live Not by Lies is a gripping docuseries by Angel Studios that reveals how soft totalitarianism is creeping into everyday life. Through powerful stories from people who lived under communism, it warns of what happens when we surrender truth for safety. This is a must-watch for anyone who loves faith, family, and freedom. Stream the series now, only on Angel Guild, by visiting angel.com/Starnes. Hey folks, Todd Starnes here. What's your plan when the smartest investors who never lose pile into gold and silver? They're buying now, watching value climb. Are you okay with missing out, seeing them thrive while you wait? Vault U.S. Gold is the answer. Trusted by pros, they offer gold IRAs to secure your retirement, and gold and silver delivered, shipped, and insured to your door. Want to roll over your 401k? Well, their experts make it seamless, honest every step. Why Vault U.S.? Well, they're steady, reliable, no tricks, just value. Gold's hot. Don't regret sitting this out. Call 833-511-GOLD. That's 833-511-4653, or visit vaultusgold.com/Todd for a free investor kit. That's 833-511-GOLD or 833-511-4653 and get your free investor kit. And say Todd Starnes sent you. Vault U.S. Gold. Buy smart, win big.
America has a new choice for fair and balanced news. ToddStarnes.com. Journalism you can trust from some of the best reporters and opinion writers in the business. ToddStarnes.com takes you to the front lines of the culture war, defending faith, freedom, and your family. ToddStarnes.com also features exclusive interviews with America's top newsmakers like Mike Huckabee, Franklin Graham, and Newt Gingrich. Find out why millions of Americans read ToddStarnes.com every day. It's news you can trust. ToddStarnes.com.
We're live here outside the Perez family home, just waiting for the... And there they go, almost on time this morning. Mom is coming out the front door strong with a double-arm kid carry. Looks like Dad has the bags. Daughter is bringing up the rear. Oh, but the diaper bag wasn't closed. Diapers and toys are everywhere. Ooh, but Mom has just nailed the perfect car seat buckle for the toddler. And now the eldest daughter, who looks to be about 9 or 10, has secured herself in the booster seat. Dad zips the bag closed, and they're off. But looks like Mom doesn't realize her coffee cup is still on the roof of the car. And there it goes. Oh, that's a shame. That mug was a fam favorite.
Don't sweat the small stuff. Just nail the big stuff. Like making sure your kids are buckled correctly in the right seat for their age and size. Learn more at nhtsa.gov/the right seat.
Visit nhtsa.gov/the
right seat. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Get hurt in a game? We tough it out. Feel exhausted? We push on. Feeling down? We pull ourselves up by the bootstraps. But there are times when bootstraps aren't enough. When stress gets to us and we need to talk to someone about what we're really going through. So we're going to reach out, because sometimes mental health is not a one-person job. Visit loveyourmindtoday.org. That's loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
My mom has decided to learn to paint, and she's good.
My dad's now into creative cuisine, and I've already put on 6 pounds. Learning new things comes with age.
My mom? She started forgetting my name and what we're talking about.
Forgetting well-known things doesn't. Memory loss may be a sign of Alzheimer's disease. Early detection gives you and your loved one time to plan for the future. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's at 10signs.org. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
All right, son. Time to put out this campfire.
Dad, we learned about this in school.
Oh, did you now? Okay. What's first?
Smokey Bear said to.
First drown it with a bucket of water, then stir it with a shovel.
Wow, you sound just like him.
Then he said.
If it's still warm, then do it again.
Where can I learn all this?
It's all on SmokeyBear.com with other wildfire prevention tips, because only you can prevent wildfires.
Brought to you by the USDA Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Now more than ever, it's important to support companies and organizations that share our values. Patriot Mobile not only shares our beliefs, but they actually do something about it. America's only conservative Christian wireless carrier. And they donate a portion of every dollar to organizations that fight for causes you care about. Switch to Patriot Mobile now and use the promo code TODD to get free activation and a free gift. Veterans and first responders save even more. Go to patriotmobile.com/Todd or call 972-PATRIOT. That's 972-PATRIOT.
And welcome back. This is the Todd Starnes Show. I'm Steve Gill, filling in for Todd. He'll be back in action on Monday. Fresh off his book launch tour this week. He's been all over the place. We did a book launch in Memphis a few days ago, and then he's been in Wichita, Kansas, and other parts across Kansas in the last 24 hours, and hitting a few more spots over the weekend. But he'll be back in action Monday. Plenty to get to before we roll out of today's show and into the weekend. You can join me on the line at 901-260-5926, 901-260-5926 if you want to talk about some of the issues that we've been talking about, some of the stories we've been talking about today. Here's a new one. Didn't see this one coming. Elon Musk is talking about buying MSNBC, turning it into a real news network. Now, he's talking about bringing Tucker Carlson in as the new host at MSNBC, dump the folks that are there now, bringing in Tucker. You know, Tucker and Levine have been, fighting and arguing with each other like crazy. Are you with Tucker or are you with Mark Levin? I mean, again, they've been going at it. Are you on Team Tucker or Team Mark? Do you think if Elon buys MSNBC, he can probably get it at a discount right now? I mean, they are bleeding viewers. They are bleeding advertisers like crazy. He can probably get it cheap. And, he's still got plenty of money. I mean, he bought X, and it's doing fine. He's doing great with – Tesla took a hit. That's going to come back. He's doing fine with SpaceX. He's got this new plan to do artificial eyes. Literally AI, A-E-Y-E, that is literally creating this superpower eye that can see radar and all sorts of other things. I don't know if it'll see through clothes. Like, I don't know if when you were a kid you had the comic books that had the see-through clothes glasses you could buy. I think it was like a few dollars. You could see through clothes. Elon's eye may be able to do that. So, he's back in the technology business. He's left the White House. He's no longer doing the Doge business. And look at it buying MSNBC. Good thing or bad thing? Getting rid of MSNBC, putting up a competitor, if it's a real conservative network, as opposed to Fox News. Because, Fox News, they go rhino way too often. They got some good hosts, but their polling data is always off. Their election night coverage is always tilted, in my view, way to try to help the Democrats rather than to just be honest and fair. So there's an opening for a real conservative network. Would MSNBC under Elon be that? Would Tucker Carlson at the helm be that? 901-260-5926. What do you think about the prospect of Elon buying MSNBC? Let's go next to the phone lines. And Mike, you're on from Clear Lake City, Texas, on Patriot Talk 920. Mike, you're on the Todd Starnes Show.
Well, hello. I wanted to pose a question. I know ICE is doing the right thing by rounding up all the illegals, most of whom are from South America. And it's not a racial thing. It's Chinese, Middle Easterners, Muslims, Syrians. They came from all over the world. But I don't see any of them getting rounded up. And that's what concerns me is how many of those guys are hiding out, setting up terrorist cells.
Mike, that's a great point. And again, I've often pushed back at people who say, well, why are we focused on the Hispanics when it comes to illegal immigration? It's not a racial issue. It's not an ethnic issue, in my view. It's a proximity issue. If China was on our southern border with 1 billion plus people, if India was on our southern border with 1 billion plus people that could just walk across the desert into South Texas, into Arizona or wherever, we'd have an Indian Chinese overwhelming illegal immigrant population. Mexico's right there. South and Central America's right there. And we are rounding up some of the others, but we need to do a better job. We'll talk more about it in a moment. Mike, thanks for your call. More of your calls in a moment as the Todd Starnes Show continues.
Great if life came with a remote control. You could hit pause when you needed to, or hit rewind, like that time you knocked down that wasp's nest.
Uh-oh.
Or that time you forgot to roll up your windows in the car wash.
Fantastic.
Yeah, a remote control would have come in handy then. Well, life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome, but prediabetes does. With early diagnosis and a few healthy changes like managing your weight, getting active, stopping smoking, and eating healthier, you can stop prediabetes before it leads to type 2 diabetes. It's easy to learn your risk. Take the 1-minute test today at doihaveprediabetes.org. Life doesn't come with a remote control. Yikes! So you're on your own with the wasps. You have the power to take control of prediabetes. Visit doihaveprediabetes.org today. That's doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's starting with the woots.
And now a speech.
I just want to say that friendship is about heart and brain. Who's with me?
Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
And my brain is saying, when it's time to go home, somebody call me a ride.
Love that guy.
Me too.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Are you prepared for an emergency or disaster? Because it's not a matter of if, but when. Don't find yourself saying,
when the storm rolls in, my time to find a pet-friendly evacuation center will have run out.
The scorching heat wave will leave me powerless to cool my insulin.
I'll face a hurricane without meds. Now that's a tough pill to swallow.
Let's prepare so we all have a better story to tell. Get started at ready.gov/older adults. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Many college grads are anti-capitalist activists. So if you're a business owner, how do you find new employees who won't destroy your business? Hi, this is Todd Starnes, and that's where Red Balloon comes in. They're America's #1 pro-freedom job board, and they're shaking up the hiring world by focusing on values and mission-aligned talent. Now, there are two ways Red Balloon can help. You can post your job on their national job board. Over 20,000 people visit every week. Or you can hire Red Balloon Recruiter for a more customized talent search. Now, the Recruiter team is really fantastic. They start by learning your workplace culture and writing a custom job posting, and then they source and screen candidates from their national database. Their team conducts first interviews, and you get alerts when they find highly qualified candidates. And Red Balloon delivers these high-quality results at a fraction of traditional corporate recruiter prices. People are saying Red Balloon is a game changer. So check them out today, redballoon.work. Use the promo code STARNS and save $100 on Recruiter.
As veterans, we're no strangers to helping others.
It's what we were taught, trained, and told to do.
It could be for anything. Helping a friend move.
Listening to a fellow veteran for hours, at any hour of the day.
Or just simply making time for people. A neighbor, a loved one, or even a stranger.
We're often the first to help others. There's no question about it.
But we do have one question for the veterans listening.
When was the last time you reached out for help?
Perhaps it's time to do for yourself what you would do for others.
If you or someone you know needs resources, whether it's for stress, finances, employment, or mental health, don't wait. Reach out.
Find more information at va.gov/reach. That's va.gov/reach.
Brought to you by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs and the Ad Council.
I'm Smokey Bear, and I made an assistant to help you prevent wildfires.
Dude, I've got this. I've been camping since I was 5 years old.
But I am a camping influencer.
You know what? I'll bet you $5. Assistant Smokey, what is the best way to put out a campfire?
To put out a campfire, drown with water, stir, drown again. Then make sure the fire is out cold by feeling with the back of your hand.
Wait, really?
I'll take the $5.
Learn more at smokeybear.com.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
And here's Heather with the weather.
Well, it's beautiful out there, sunny and 75, almost a little chilly in the shade. Now, let's get a read on the inside of your car. It is hot. You've only been parked a short time, and it's already 99 degrees in there. Let's not leave children in the back seat while running errands. It only takes a few minutes for their body temperatures to rise, and that could be fatal.
Cars get hot, fast, and can be deadly. Never leave a child in a car. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
And welcome back in. This is the Todd Starnes Show. I'm Steve Gill filling in for Todd. I encourage you to dial in, chime in with your voice of reason on this Friday edition. 901-260-5926. 901-260-5926. I wanted to follow up on Mike's question about where the illegals are in the U.S. And again, his point was that, we're not deporting enough of the Chinese illegals that have flooded in, the Middle Eastern illegals, and again, they've come from all over the world. Now, again, the overwhelming percentage is those from Mexico, South, Central America, because of proximity, because of geographic proximity, not because of some propensity that Hispanics or Latinos have to be more likely to participate in illegal immigration than anybody else. It literally is next door. So when there are those that are saying, it's, this is racist, Trump is targeting brown people. Well, again, if Ireland was on our border, you'd have a lot of white folks, walking across the border. It's just a little harder to get here. But the point is a good one. What are we doing to deport? Now, we've stopped the flood of illegals coming in. We had Joe Biden claim that he was doing all he could, that we had to have legislation. We had to have bipartisan legislation to stop the flood of millions of illegals coming across the border during the Biden-Obama years. And it slowed during the first Trump administration, but it didn't stop because the Democrats blocked the enforcement of the law, blocked the construction of the wall, blocked what needed to be done to stop the flood coming across. Well, and now it's slowed to almost zero. In May, the border captures were like zero. A year ago, last May, it was like 64,000 people. And we've got 20, 30, 40 million, depending on the estimate of how many illegal immigrants there are in this country. And you get the left sometimes say, well, some of them have been here a long time. Look, if I've been shoplifting for a long time, that doesn't mean I'm not still breaking the law every day I do it. It doesn't excuse my behavior. If I rob a lot of banks for several years, it doesn't make my behavior legal. If I'm here illegally, came here illegally, staying here illegally, working here illegally, using somebody's identity theft, illegally to cover up the fact that I'm working illegally. If I'm driving a car without a driver's license, that's illegal. If I'm driving without insurance, that's illegal. How many levels of illegality should we tolerate because Democrats want voters? Or because some small businesses and large businesses run by Republicans and inspired by the Chamber of Commerce want cheap labor? How much illegal behavior do we tolerate to placate those who have a political agenda, either to get more voters or to get more cheap labor, slave labor? So we've stopped the importation. Now we need to ramp up the deportation, and there are estimates that 1 million self-deported over the last couple of months. And that's been my pitch for a long time. We did not import illegals. Well, the Biden administration flew in a bunch of them. But for the most part, we didn't spend money, we didn't spend effort importing illegal immigrants into our country. They came on their own. They paid cartels, they paid others to come in. And we don't have to pay to deport them. Now, the Trump administration has offered a very good sweetheart deal. We'll fly you home. We'll give you $1,000. You can say goodbye to your family, your friends, and take your stuff. And eventually, you can apply, go through the legal process, which we have in place, and which millions of people have followed to legally come into this country. But we'll help you deport. And if you don't register that you are here illegally, that's another crime. But if you'll leave, you have the opportunity to come back at some point, legally. So we don't need to necessarily pay them to deport, though, although it's a great scheme. Maybe that will get more people to take President Trump up on it. But we keep hearing from the left, well, what are we going to do? How do you deport 30 million Americans? Well, they're not Americans. They're illegal aliens. And the best way to deport them is to do exactly what we're doing. You target the criminal illegals, those who are creating and have created violent criminal offenses, rape, murder, drug dealing, sexual trafficking, human trafficking. Target those that have had their day in court, been through due process, been told to leave. You're here illegally. You presented your case. Your asylum case was bogus. Leave. Court order. And then you don't leave because we haven't been enforcing the law. Well, when we catch those people now, you have leftist Democrats and others screaming, due process, due process. They've had due process. Now it's just a matter of enforcing the law and booting them out. There are other expedited proceedings that are allowed for the criminal illegals. They've had their due process. You can have a quick hearing and you go. And for the I'm just here looking for a better life illegals, we can give them an option. You're going to detain them, which is where you have these protests, these violent objections and impeding the enforcement of our law. You have somebody who is here illegally. You detain them. And then we're giving folks the option of, look, you can either self-deport right now. We'll give you $1,000. We'll fly you home. Or you can await your day in court. But it's not going to be like the old days. In the old days, we'll release you, and then 7 years from now, 8 years from now, maybe you'll show up for your court hearing. No, we're going to detain you and hold you until your hearing. You're going to be separated from your family, just like happens with every other criminal. That's the other bogus claim we hear from the left and from the whack jobs in the Democratic Party. You're separating families. Yeah, everybody that goes in and is a drug dealer or murderer or rapist, when we arrest them and know that they're not going to show up for their court date because they're going to flee or not show up and they get bonded out and disappear, or we just have the catch and release judges, yeah, they're not going to show up. So we separate people from their families all the time while they're awaiting trial or after they're convicted. We're not sending a lot of 4-year-olds to jail with daddy or mommy. We do separate families because of the behavior of the adults. And if you're here illegally and you get deported because of your illegal activity, if your kids were born here and they're claiming birthright citizenship, you can either take them with you or leave them here. It's your choice to be separated from your family. And maybe you think it's a better life for your kid to stay here, go into foster care, get adopted, move in with some legal family member. That's a choice. That's not us separating you from your family. That's you separating yourself from your family because of your choice, your behavior, your illegal behavior. So if we detain you, we're going to give you your day in court. We're going to give you your due process. That may be an expedited due process. Hear your case, say, nope, you don't qualify for asylum. Because just wanting a good job doesn't meet the legal requirement to get asylum in this country. And particularly when you have people who are claiming asylum, who during the time they are here, go back on vacations to see their family members in the countries they claim are so dangerous, where they are so politically prosecuted that they can't live there anymore. That they are fleeing that kind of persecution, but they go back for vacations or to see their family. That ought to be enough right there just to say, nope, you're denied. No asylum for you. No soup for you, like the soup Nazi on Seinfeld. So you've got your due process if you've been ordered to leave and don't. And if you've been deported and come back, that, by the way, is a felony. It's not just some, quote, misdemeanor like we hear from the left from time to time that, this is not really a bad law. They're just here working. It's just a misdemeanor. It's a misdemeanor that carries a 6-month jail term. And it's still a violation of the law. If you don't think entering this country illegally is a problem, if and when you ever travel out of the country, you go overseas on a vacation, you go to some great island in the Caribbean, you go to Mexico, you go to Canada, when you come back through the airport at Customs and Border Patrol, just run right back past the customs officer. Don't stop when they say, hey, stop, wait, where are you going? Just keep running. See how that works out for you. Now, I'm not encouraging law breaking. I'm just pointing out that if you want to test the system yourself and see if it's illegal to do that, put your body and your money where your mouth is. Just run right on past those ICE agents, customs agents, Border Patrol agents when you're coming into the country without showing your passport or anything else. Just run through, carrying your luggage. Yeah, just run through and see what happens. Yeah, you'll find it is very illegal. Now, again, you'll probably be out in a few years, but you'll be separated your family in the meantime. So we've got due process taking place. And again, if you want to be detained and wait in custody for your hearing versus self-deporting, you'll have that opportunity. And then there are the millions and millions of illegals that are in this country getting housing, working illegally, getting free health care, getting Medicaid benefits, Social Security, getting taxpayer money. If we will cut that off, absolutely, not one dime to an illegal, not one single penny. If you're an illegal alien and you can't get work, because we're going to start prosecuting employers, which we should do. Working illegally is a criminal offense. Hiring illegals is a criminal offense. If we start prosecuting employers, they will stop hiring illegals. The illegals will go home. If they can't work, they will leave. They will self-deport the same way they self-imported. If they don't have housing because they can't get an apartment, they can't buy a house because they're here illegally, they don't have identification, they will leave. If they can't get taxpayer-free money, they will leave. This is really not a hard process. How do you get 10, 20, 30 million illegals out of the country? You do exactly what they're doing. You round them up on the streets. You make it uncomfortable to break the law. Not comfortable. You make it uncomfortable to break the law. And as soon as it's possible to get that done, the sooner we'll get the criminal illegals, because they're all criminals, out of our country. So Mike's question was a good one. How do you find them? How do you get rid of them? You don't have to find them all. You just have to do what is helping advertise that we're going to enforce the law. Every time Tom Homan and his crew go up, drive into a construction site, and you see 100 of these guys running in work boots doing 4.540s, that image, that view tells illegals in this country, I might ought to leave when I have a chance to take my stuff, leave without being deported, so I have a chance to come back without being a felon if I sneak back in and have an opportunity to come back legally if I don't get deported. Every one of those is an advertisement to do it the right way. By the way, when you see these construction guys running in work boots and their jeans, sprinting away in 4.540s, I'm also thinking to myself, some college recruiters ought to be out there thinking, dude, we need some NIL money for this guy. He'd be a great running back or a defensive back. I mean, there's some athletic skill that's out there that we're not taking advantage of, and maybe colleges and universities could figure, hey, maybe we've got an opportunity here. By the way, colleges and universities like Kentucky are about to find that giving illegals incentive with lower tuition, penalizing Americans, honest, decent Americans, by giving in-state tuition to illegal aliens. Pam Bondi and the Department of Justice are now suing the state of Kentucky, saying this is discrimination against Americans. If I'm giving you a tuition break in Kentucky because you're here illegally, but somebody living in South Carolina doesn't get that same break even though they're an honest, decent American citizen, that is discrimination. It's a violation of the law, and Pam Bondi and the Department of Justice have just initiated a lawsuit against the University of Kentucky. Stick it to them. That's the only way you change this stuff. Make people pay a price, whether it's a state, whether it's a business, whether it's the illegal alien themselves. If it's uncomfortable, if there's a punitive aspect to it, it'll change behavior. We'll talk more about it in a moment. I'm Steve Gill, 901-260-5926, 901-260-5926. What do you think about the game plan? We don't have to deport. We can get people to self-deport if they can't get resources, money, jobs, housing, health care. It'll be better to live where they came from if they get nothing here. I'm Steve Gill. We'll be back with more of the Todd Starnes Show in just a moment.
About to back up and bring it. You're with Todd Starnes.
Hi, this is Todd Starnes, and there's no better time to get in shape than right now. That's why I'm really excited that Calitrin is part of my weight loss campaign. Here's my friend Elizabeth from Calitrin.
That's right, y'all. Summertime is the time to be getting healthy, getting on track. You're going to look better and feel better with Calitrin. It's going to help you reach your health and wellness goals. It does it without drugs, without stimulants, and that's why it's been America's #1 choice for healthy weight loss since 1997. So almost 30 years of a huge success rate. We've got over 200,000 happy customers, and this product, again, safe with all medications. So if you're ready to look better and feel better, then check it out on our website. We've got this big summer sale. It's at toploss.com. That's TOPLOSS.com.
Thanks, Elizabeth, and be sure to use that promo code TODD.
Attention, Patriots. Old Glory Bank, the bank for Main Street, not Wall Street, is now offering you a chance to own a piece of America's freedom economy. President and CEO Mike Ring recently testified before the Senate Banking Committee to fight for your banking freedom. Now you can join the fight by investing in Old Glory Bank. Visit own.oldglorybank.com to become an owner today. Investments involve risk, are not FDIC insured, and are not guaranteed. See our offering circular.
When you're working to protect and serve your community and country, you need a degree program that fits into your busy schedule. At Liberty University, you'll find just that. With 100% online program options and no set login times, you can advance your skills without sacrificing your commitments. Plus, we offer exclusive tuition rates and discounts to current and former service members, their spouses, and first responders. Learn more by texting DEGREE to 49595. That's DEGREE to 49595.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
I'm a 70-year-old man. I'm not a young guy, and I'm an ex-athlete. Well, yeah, when I was taking it, I recognized that I was feeling better. You know what I'm saying? And just mentally knowing is important also.
I am a customer of you guys. I love your product. Love it, love it. Nothing but good things to say about your product. I love it. And as long as y'all don't sell it, I'm going to take it as long as I can.
Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer. And for a limited time, get 35% off your first order with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code TODD.
Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. Even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma.
At age 30, Carissa finished her high school diploma.
If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, you can do it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Retirement can be scary, but only if you're not prepared. That's why AARP created thisispretirement.org. Because unless you've already retired, you're in pretirement, and you still have time to plan. Learn about retirement savings options, potential tax breaks, and how you can build savings over time. Visit thisispretirement.org for free resources to help you customize your action plan and feel the retirement fear disappear. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
And welcome back in. This is the Todd Starnes Show. I'm Steve Gill filling in for Todd. He is on his book tour around the country. He is what I'm calling the Big Beautiful Book Tour, pushing his newest edition, the Star Spangled Blessings devotional. And it's already like #1 on the newest devotionals on Amazon. You can buy Todd's book at Amazon.com. Go buy one today. As he's pointed out, great gift. You know, you've got July 4th coming up. What a great, instead of just giving people, red, white, and blue stuff, give them a copy of Star Spangled Blessings and maybe even read a couple of the devotionals to your family as part of the process. And, it's a great book. It's a great addition that he's added to his list of other books, and I encourage you to go check it out and see if it's something that you do want to share with your family, your friends, and you can go right to Amazon and pick up a copy. In some of the bookstores, they've got some of the signed copies. Again, he's trouncing around Kansas the next couple of days, and we'll see if you can meet up with him while I think he's in Kansas City today. He was in Wichita earlier this week. One of the things that people have texted me about and asked about, are the Republicans going to keep their words and do what President Trump said he was going to do? When he was running for office, he said, look, I want to get rid of tax on tips. I want to get rid of tax on Social Security. I want to get rid of tax on overtime. And people listened to Donald Trump and voted for him and put Republicans in the majority in the House and the Senate, thinking that they meant it when they said, yeah, he's right, let's do that. And then they get in power, and I don't know if we should really get rid of tax on Social Security. Why don't we give you a $4,000 potential deduction? That's what the House came up with. Now the Senate's saying, well, we could do a $6,000 deduction. That's not the same thing as no tax on Social Security. Trump didn't stutter. He didn't hem and haw. He said, I want no tax on Social Security. So why do you have Republicans in the Senate quibbling about it? Why do you have Republicans in the House saying, nah, he might have meant it, but we don't? If you don't keep your word, people aren't going to trust you a second time. Just not going to happen. Today, you have a great weekend. Todd will be back Monday. You'll get another dose of the Todd Starnes Show. In the meantime, have a great, safe weekend. And we'll be back right here on Monday with more of the Todd Starnes Show.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
I take it every day, and let me tell you, there are few things that I refuse to do without. Balance of Nature is one of them.
Yeah, it's good. I put it in a protein shake pretty much every morning.
Honey, I'm 80 years old. Last year, I painted the whole house myself on a 12-foot ladder with a brush. And I've remodeled the inside of my office. And I've taken it 6 or 7 years. I just like it.
Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements today. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first preferred set. Don't wait. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code TODD.
Mama, what does the chicken say?
Chicken. Oh, okay.
And wolf?
Oh, a wolf. Ooh!
What about the tiny dog? Cat? Owl? Dolphin? What does the turkey say? Whale?
Yeah, whale sound.
Do the giraffe.
Giraffe, really? Okay. Giraffe. Giraffe.
You're not going to get it all right. Just make sure you nail the big stuff, like making sure your kids are buckled correctly in the right seat for their age and size. Get it right.
Visit NHTSA.gov/the right seat.
Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Hello, Americans. I'm Todd Starnes. Stand by for news and commentary next.
Maybe you've heard switching to MediShare to pay for health care can save the typical family $500 a month. And that's huge. But it's also true that people are way more satisfied after making the switch, too. The customer satisfaction rate is double that of the typical health insurance plan. Double. So maybe you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan you're much happier with. Here's the number you need. 833-34-BIBLE. That's 833-34-BIBLE.
There's big trouble at Boise State University. Head football coach Spencer Danielson drawing fire because he mentions the name of Jesus Christ in public appearances. Now, the Freedom for Religion Foundation accused the coach of placing a Christian litmus test on students. They say that's illegal. They got riled up because the coach says his football team is going to give Jesus the glory. Now, among those left with hurt feelings, Rabbi Dan Fink, he penned a letter to the Idaho Statesman complaining about Christian nationalism and anti-Semitism, as if a Christian coach praying in the name of Jesus is somehow an anti-Semitic slur. There's a very reasonable solution to the complaints from the rabbi and the atheist. Find a head coach who is either Jewish or atheist. But they might be hard-pressed because everybody knows the best football coaches in America are God-fearing patriots who know all the words to that great gospel song, Drop Kick Me Jesus or the Goalpost of Life. I'm Todd Starnes.
The Todd Starnes Show begins in 4 minutes. The Todd Starnes Show begins in 2 minutes. The Todd Starnes Show begins in 1 minute.
from the Liberty University studio in Memphis, Tennessee, it's Common Sense Conservative Commentary from Todd Starnes.
That's us. That's right. I love this American ride.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to Hour 2 of the Big Show. Great to have you with us today, border to border, coast to coast, across the fruited plain. This is also Book Launch Week. We are celebrating and encouraging you to go out and get yourself a signed copy of my brand new book, Star Spangled Blessings, Devotions for Patriots. Yesterday, after the show, went over to Novel Memphis, which is the independent bookstore.
So we'll do that. So we should do their 10-minute and I'll do my 12.50. Or should we do 2 interviews and then they can leave and then I can do the other thing? Is it best to do one complete?
power than love.
It's hard to
kind of guess who it was.
Yeah, who is this? Like,
What is up, Cleo?
the man of intrigue.
I feel like if I say GC, I might accidentally say JC. We'll go with Global Chill. I haven't heard my sound like this in a while. I know. Is this what